Gather around, freaks. It's almost Friday the 13th, except there's no Friday the 13th this year. It's on like a Sunday, like it's like Thanksgiving. But this is the week before Friday the 13th, and everybody's gathering around the internet fire and the internet radio. They're all holding hands and doing body slams to each other. It's wait, what? Hey, did you see this one?
The night is dark, and the air is still. The moon casts an eerie glow over the internet, where a group of curious individuals have gathered to discuss their shared fascination for the macabre. They hold in their hands a book with a foreboding presence, bound in flesh and inked in blood, a tome of horror that only opens its pages when a sacrifice is made. Within its ancient passages lie the secrets of the most infamous murderers and monsters of all time. Join us. But beware, for once this book is open, there's no telling what horrors may be unleashed. This is the Grimoire of Familiar Killers.
I don't get it. They should be here by now.
What are you gonna do?
Hello, everybody out there in the world of the internet. 'Tis I, your crypt keeper, because it is, hey, did you see this one? The deep dive review reaction podcast. Tonight, we're going to be spooky and freaky because the grimoire is open and there's goo shooting everywhere out of it and lights and smoke and goop and juice. The juice is blood, I think. This is episode 155, guys.
55?
That's a lot of episodes. It also for all of you playing at home, it's season 3, episode 6. And as I was saying in the pre-show, this is the 6th iteration of a movie during the 6th iteration of our grimoire on the 6th episode of season 3. That's 666.
Oh my god.
The devil.
It's definitely going to be cursed.
The Satan is here. The devil is here. And speaking of who's here, my name is Jason R. Phillips, and I'm alive. I'm joined, as always, my co-host, Stephen Chucky, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla Waters.
Oh my god.
I was trying to think of Chucky's real name, and it just escaped me. So
Charles Lee Ray.
Charles Lee Ray, thank you. And we returning to the show the first time since like June. I don't know how this happened, but please welcome back to the show, Cassandra Hodgins. Cassandra.
Hello.
There we go. Yes, that's right.
Jason, what's my cool name?
Just your name. It's
Oh, okay.
Cassandra, Peter Pumpkin Eater.
Oh.
From hell she rises and destroys society. Hodgins, the witch, the lion, and the wardrobe all at once.
I like it. Thank you.
I have what's known as tired brain. So I'm trying to do like quick, fun, fast, funny, and it's not. It's more like stub my toe and trip over the bed, and
that's still funny.
break my neck.
That's slapstick right there.
It's like when you're trying to start an old car in cold weather or whatever. It's just like
you have an old cell phone and it gets down to like 10% and just turns off.
Yeah, if it's too cold outside, it's like no, I'm just gonna turn off for a bit. Too cold.
Too cold.
I know you're Uber on your own.
Yeah.
When I used to work at a restaurant, like many years ago now, but if I was released from work too late, I would miss the subway and I would have to like either cab home or take the bus, but that the buses were like always unreliable as well. And I would be like sprinting to try and get to it in time. And then I'd pull out my phone and it would be dead. And then you'd just be like stuck in the middle of Toronto in the middle of the night, in the middle of cold. Anyway.
That sounds like a story.
A much more scary situation than anything that happens in this movie that we're going to talk about.
There's a nip of cold in the air right now too, so I feel it coming. We haven't had it hasn't been like this in October in a minute. I feel like the inverse is going to happen, where in the last 5 years it doesn't become winter till January. I'm concerned, and I've heard this winter is going to be bad. So. Perfect use of that. Perfect use of that theme. But just to get into it here, this is Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason Lives is the film we are talking about this week. After I meandered and got us there, thank you guys for joining me. This is going to be a fun one. It's a pretty straightforward film. I briefed Cassandra on this beforehand, so we can get right into it. But the guest now gives a brief synopsis. So let's hear from the big man and find out what that is.
Zardoz speaks to you. He demands you synopsize this film. Okay. Tell him how, why, who, what occurs in this film.
You better do what he says, Cass. I think he's serious.
I'm very scared.
I heard that he's got 100 guns in his mouth.
It's true.
His mouth?
Yeah,
right in there.
Giant mouth. Well, I'm really happy that I clarified what a brief synopsis was, because I literally wrote out a page. So I made it short. So our brief synopsis: we've got Tommy Jarvis, who killed Jason previously. He's released from a mental asylum, and he goes to Jason's grave to dig him up and burn his body, because he's like, gotta get it done. So he digs up the corpse, and then he stabs the corpse a bunch with a metal rod in the middle of a thunderstorm, which is a very bad idea, because of course lightning is attracted to metal, and lightning rains down, and here we have zombie Jason rising from the dead. Other things, cops aren't listening and aren't helping. We've got new teens that still, for some reason, decide to take a job as camp counselors at what is now called Camp Forest Green, but it used to be Camp Crystal Lake. Jason kills a lot of people. Blood gets all over popcorn. There's fire that are lit. Glasses are broken, and underwater fights are fought.
Perfect.
And that's my synopsis.
That's a pretty thorough synopsis. That's pretty much the whole movie. And that's our episode for this week. So we'll see you next time. Steve just bounced.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Steve's internet dropped. That's
no.
So I'm gonna be spinning my wheels here for a moment. So how you doing, Cass? How's life?
I'm good. I'm so tired, but I'm good. I've got my coffee in my State of Decay mug, because I figured
Perfect.
Zombie style might as well. How are you?
That's a pretty good game. I'm good. I'm also tired. It's been a long week. I'm excited for Thanksgiving to be here. I'm excited to sleep.
Long weekend.
Go to bed tonight and get up tomorrow and work from home, and then there's some families coming over.
Oh, that's
this weekend.
nice.
I think what we could do is there he is. Perfect. We did it. We stalled for time. You're a consummate professional. That's why we call to the well for you to come up, like some sort of curse monster from the movie The Ring.
Yeah, just like that.
You're gonna
I'm
crawl
back.
through the screen and
Hi, Steven.
freak everybody out.
You missed our heart to heart while you were gone about life, but it's okay.
Oh, you guys stalled for that much time? You could have continued going through the synopsis. That would have been fun. I've seen it.
The synopsis was done and then you dropped.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my computer froze for a minute and I was like, I don't think this is going to unfreeze. And so I had to restart my computer.
Well, I was just going to pop us into a brief history so we could go there.
Okay.
A brief history.
The body and brief history all wrapped into one.
Remix.
That's right, everybody listening right now. It is, of course, the time in the show where we talk about our brief history with the film that we're reviewing. As always, the guest goes first. That is a trend here on Hey, Did You See This One? So, Cass, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with it? Since we're on the 6th version of this movie, also, if you want to tell us about your history with Jason. I don't think you've been on the Grimoire before, have you?
I think it's my first time.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
This is your first Grimoire?
My first Grimoire. I'm pretty sure.
Holy shit!
I know. It's happened finally. Finally. Well, it's also very funny that this is my first Grimoire because this is one franchise that I was not familiar with at all and had never seen any of the movies. So my brief history is I watched this movie that we're talking about today yesterday for the first time, and it is the first Friday the 13th movie I have ever seen, and it was a delight. I'm pretty sure I woke up my neighbors upstairs because I was laughing hysterically the entire time.
It is quite a fun one. I'm glad this is your first experience because it is quite a slog to get to this one, which is a lot of people's favorite one. So
it was great. And also I went back right after and I watched all the trailers for the other movies. And like, I was just like, how does it keep getting just more zany? I love this. So that's my goal for October is to watch all of them.
It's a good entry point. The first movie is like necessary a little, like just to sort of get the vibe, but he's not even in the first one really, so it's, and then they get better for a minute and then they nosedive into that last one. And then, but then this one is sort of the Jason that everybody knows. This is sort of where that starts. So is that all, Cass?
That's it.
All right, Steve, how about you, buddy?
Well, I mean, I tell you the same story every time we talk about any of these movies. My brief history is that I hadn't seen any of these when I was a kid because I was too scared. And then one day in high school, I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch all of them. And this one was one of them. Not that hard to find them as well, because in my era of being a teenager, is that are they coming for me again? Okay. I'm going to get swatted. No, so
I'm swatting you actually.
You seem like the only one I know that would do that to me. So I watched them all, but like I said, my sort of era of teenagehood, everybody had TV, everybody had cable, and cable loved to fill entire like 24-hour brackets during this time of year with just these movies. So they would do like Friday the 13th marathon for 2 days straight on TNT or whatever. And so you would just, anytime you would turn on that specific channel, there would be a Friday the 13th on, and you could kind of time it out to be like, I'll watch 2 of them tonight, and then I'll watch 2 of them tomorrow night, or whatever. Same with Freddy, same with Chucky. Not the Halloweens. The Halloweens, I think, were a little bit harder for those television channels to obtain because of the rights of the movies being handed off so drastically between like sequels and stuff. But anyway, yeah, my first time watching it was high school. I don't have a definitive memory because they all kind of blend together. This movie specifically, I thought that the paintball people were from Friday the 13th 3 for some reason because it's so goofy, and Friday the 13th 3 is so goofy. I was like, it's got to be from the third one, right? Or maybe the fifth one. But no, it's in this one. You think they're going to be a big part of the movie. They're not. They're not. They're there for no reason other than to die.
And great physical comedy.
Yeah.
They give the super dorky one his own theme, and I was like, is this guy going to be like the hero?
Wait, no, they are very important. It's how Jason gets his machete.
That's true.
That's true.
It's the
That's
most
a really
important.
good point, actually.
They're like, how do we get him his trademark machete? I don't know. Let's have a bunch of like corporate business people playing paintball in the woods, and one of them is a real maniac sexist, and he has a really shiny machete.
Right? Who brings a machete to a paintball fight? Like that's insane. I would not trust that man.
I mean,
I didn't know they
besides
had
the machete, just the things he's saying, I wouldn't
Also
trust
that.
man. Yeah.
I didn't know they had paintball that far, like that long ago. I thought that was like a '90s thing.
I think
I'm pretty sure
paintball's
paintball's been around a while. Yeah.
Well, I learned something. It was a very educational film.
Do you want to Google it?
For me, it's basically the same as Steve, where I've talked about this pretty much every grimoire, every horror movie. Couldn't handle horror
Jason?
as a kid.
This movie came out 5 years after paintball was invented.
Oh wow!
So it's probably a hot thing. They're like, let's put some
brand new.
It was probably just
I'm surprised there wasn't like a skateboarding scene, because skateboarding was relatively new at the time. I think yo-yos were coming back too. 1986. I was 1 year old when this movie came out. So in the early 90s, when all my friends were having sleepovers and watching these old horror flicks, 5 years old, I guess, I was too freaked out by them, right? As I've talked about like a lot on this show. I'm not going to get into it. Now it doesn't even faze me, and I almost look back on a movie like this. It's funny to think that I couldn't handle it, but in reality, this one's pretty violent compared to the last few. It has the first half of Jason's rampage is him trying to like hit high scores, it feels like, and then he doesn't do the stocky kind of follow people around slowly till like the last act. So I could see it being like too violent for me when I was a kid, but this movie specifically, like, I think my memory of Jason is this version of him with the like burnt head, the full zombie look. He's like gray skinned. His suit's all tattered. He's got like bullet holes in him, and this is sort of what I pictured Jason in my head. That last one that we did where Jason, spoilers, where Jason is just a guy, was like not it. But this
he's
was
not just God. No, he's the ambulance driver who's actually the father of the.
Well, that's an actual huge spoiler.
Well, we're doing the sixth one, so I assume people listening to this have already seen the fifth one.
Except me, and I'm on the podcast.
Cass, it's not a great movie. Don't worry about the spoilers.
No, it's totally fine. I don't mind at all.
You're gonna also forget after watching 4 other ones.
But it's also one of those things where if you don't know what the reveal is, you could be very confused by the end of the movie. You're like, who the fuck is that? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Is this supposed to be someone we know? Yeah.
That's true.
It's the worst reveal I've ever seen in a movie, where you're just like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be looking at here. Oh, it's some guy.
I love that.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, same with me in terms of this is my favorite Jason aesthetically. A couple of years ago, the name the Grimoire of Familiar Killers actually came from a bunch of artwork I was doing. This is my mouse pad of the Jason Voorhees that I drew. Oh, there we go.
That's so good. I love that.
I also drew this thing behind me. Actually, I can show it. This is going to be in our store soon if anybody wants to get one, but it's not done. It's just a work in progress, but yeah, there's Jason. He's in there. But yeah, it's my favorite Jason aesthetically. I like that he steals Tommy Jarvis's gloves. Like at the beginning of the movie, Tommy Jarvis takes his gloves off and puts them down, and the rest of the movie, Jason's just wearing them. You're like, okay, cool. Jason's hands get cold. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he needs to he's worried about dropping his machete when it's covered in blood or something.
Also, it might just be really poor circulation because corpse stuff.
Yeah, he's been dead for a while.
Yeah.
He also becomes like a full-on woodsman in this one with a whole tool belt, so it completes the look, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how old Tommy Jarvis is meant to be in this movie, but let's say he's like 25, or is he maybe supposed to be 20 or 19? I don't know. I don't really know how old he's supposed to be, but either way,
I think like 21 or 22 from what I was seeing online earlier. I think.
Okay. Well, even if that's the case, Jason has been dead and buried for over 10 years then at this point. Like he's been in the ground for that long, because in the other movie, spoiler, not Jason. And then, you know, in the fourth one, it's like he gets killed by what's his name? Not Corey Haim. Corey
Feldman, right?
Feldman, yeah.
Feldman.
When he's a child, and that's the last time you see Jason. So he's been in the ground for that amount of time. Anyway, I'm kind of getting into the body of the episode right now, but if we want to
let's talk about the director a bit. I think this is a new director for us.
A new director, Thom McLoughlin. Where is the director, Todd?
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit. Sound. Speed. Action!
2 cruise control. On this mark. That's right. This is the section of the show where we talk about the director. And then any sort of like, you know, technical parts of the movie we want to discuss. That'll all be kind of covered in the body. Thom McLoughlin is probably mostly known from this, looking at his IMDb. Looks like he did a lot of TV. After this movie, he did the Freddy's Nightmares television program, he only did 1 episode. So he looks like, he worked on the Friday the 13th TV series. Do you know much about this guy?
No. Sorry, I don't know what's going on inside my house right now, but there's somebody screaming and there's a lot of sirens. So let's see what happens. Maybe Jason's out there.
It is the cursed episode.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about him, but he also hasn't done a lot in terms of directing. So, or I mean, in terms of like well-known stuff, he does like a lot of TV. Yeah, I don't know. I looked into it a little bit earlier today, and I was like, I don't have time to read about this man, and I'm sorry to you, Mr. Thom McLoughlin, but I don't know. I've never seen Sometimes They Come Back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I took a passing glance at his IMDb, and I thought that there was more here, but like I said, it's a lot of TV, and he wrote a lot of stuff. He wrote 3 episodes of the Friday the 13th show, but he didn't.
He wrote on the Dick Van Dyke Show. Holy shit!
Oh, he did write this movie. So we can credit this guy with bringing the sort of the feel back to Jason after Jason hasn't felt like Jason since like the 3rd movie, like, or the
I don't think that Jason's ever felt like this. This is
it's so campy.
Yeah, this is a completely different vibe than any of the other movies. The movies all kind of do have an individual identity when you're watching them, but the gags do kind of flow together in your head where you're not. I can't really remember which ones this one's from, but this one feels more like a a Nightmare on Elm Street movie than it does a Friday the 13th movie. But it also does set sort of a precedent moving forward in terms of how they approach using Jason as a character. That's not to say that people don't go back to like slow stalking brutal deaths, but this one, yeah, it kind of almost had sort of like a Joss Whedon-y feel at times to me.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen this one in a while, but I've seen it quite a few times. But you know, the things where like, well, character will be like, what do they think? I'm some sort of farthead? And then it'll cut to a bunch of kids going, yeah. I'm like, okay, that's sort of like a Joss Whedon cut.
Or the groundskeeper talking directly to the audience, looking right down the barrel.
That's never good. I hate the shit and everything it's in. Joss Whedon doesn't do that. Buffy turned into the camera like, the life of a slayer. Shrug. But yeah, I mean, I was, on rewatching it, I'm like, I don't know if I love the campiness, but it is a lot more fun than the straight up goofiness of 5, where there's like hillbillies in the middle of a city for some reason being like, you goddamn dildo, come and eat your freaking stew. Where it just that was that movie with the mother and daughter or son, right? Where the son is like a big oaf and she's calling everybody hilarious names. Bitch, basically.
I forgot about that. I just remember like the pristine jumpsuit that Jason's wearing. And I like the darker tone of his costuming in this. but I like it's the movie starts kind of funny and serious. All the Tommy Jarvis stuff is like pretty serious. There's also like the time jump that has happened at this point. Was Tommy Jarvis in the last one?
Yeah, he's the main character.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you like
there's a different actor though, I think, right?
Yeah, different actor. Yeah, he gets put into
he like fist fights Jason in the last one.
He gets put into a halfway house, and he's trying to like be rehabilitated to be prepared to go back into society, and then a paramedic starts killing people dressed as Jason. But he's also hallucinating the entire time, so it's like a weird thing where he doesn't know if he's even doing the killings or something. It's a little like, okay, whatever. Where you're kind of like, the movie doesn't even know what it's doing. And it's confusing, and then there's characters who are cartoon characters mixed in with a dark tone, whereas this movie, everybody kind of feels equally cartoonish. There's no like deadpan serious character. Everybody has sort of like that dial is turned up to like Bugs Bunny level, where you're like, okay, at least everybody the same level.
Thom McLoughlin at least kept a consistent tone,
Yeah, I would agree. It's not because even the beginning part, the Tommy Jarvis graveyard sequence, it is like it's so good because it's like a classic like Universal monster movie thing where there's it's in the middle of a thunderstorm, it's so fucking windy, it's like a classic graveyard, everything is just ridiculous, all these like crazy crypts and mausoleums and all these different beautiful gravestones, and then Jason's is just this shitty headstone that looks like it's been there for 100 years, even though he died 10 years ago.
I also love that his name is actually on the gravestone for like a town that's being like, no, it's like a legend, he's not real. And it's like he's literally buried right there.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
And then when he finds it though, like he does like a crazy turn, and then the camera's like snap zooms in on him, and dun, dun.
I'm so happy to put that up. I giggled very hard.
We can probably get into the body then in that case, because we're
I mean, I don't really have a lot to talk about in terms of the director, but I've got some stuff to talk about for special effects, but we can talk about it as we go. I think that makes sense.
I think I'm the same way too.
The body of the episode.
We've done it. It's 1:30, and we're into the show, and we're going to talk about this movie. We're going to put down the plot. We're going to talk about all the great stuff that we've learned about this movie in our travels, and we're going to say the ha-has and the jokes and the fun stuff. Of course, the body of the episode. The movie starts...
Jason, take a breath for 1 second. There you go. Go ahead.
Did you get any of that?
Your microphone had not quite caught up to you.
Okay. I like to talk, and I like to talk fast. It's only 1986, which is something that I didn't realize that, Chucky is in the 2000s where we're at. And when we do the Spring Grimoire, it's Halloween H2O.
The Springwire.
The Springwire. Grimoire is going to be the musical guest. Nope. And even Freddy it's 92, I think, for the one that we're doing this October.
I don't really pay attention to the years in which they take place because it doesn't really matter to me, because it doesn't.
The only reason it matters to me in this instance is we're 6 movies in and it's 1986. That's the only, they've been churning these out yearly for half a decade.
Yeah. I was looking at the dates, it was like 80, right? 82,
Yeah.
83, 84, 85, like basically almost once a year.
Yeah, it's like 79, 80, 81,
I think
83.
the only series that really kind of even like cares to give you a time frame is Chucky, like where they're like, yeah, it's been 10 years, so this movie takes place in 1997, and then when they make the next movie, it's actually 1998, and they're like, oh, it's just been 1 year. Like that's how long it's been.
But more so, my point is that it's wild that they were just churning these out so hard, to the point that I've talked about this on the show where, like, in 1984 my dad was like, Jason's dead, he's gone, and I was born in early 85, and then that summer the next movie came out, and then now I'm 1 year old and my dad's going, there's been 2 fucking movies since my son was named Jason. Jason's supposed to be dead, that's why we called him that. That's part of it.
I mean, maybe you shouldn't base naming your child off of a movie franchise being over. Like maybe
it was a very popular name in the 80s, though. That's part of it.
Every time you cried at night, that's what he heard. He's like, oh god.
But Tommy's like a full adult, and I guess if you think about it, it's like 1996, even though they don't really say it because they aged him up about 10 years. And I thought it would be interesting to see where this goes. And he has the stupidest idea ever. It backfires in his
You
face.
said it's 1990. Why do you think it's 1996? Because of the time jump?
Because of the time jump.
But isn't the first movie in the 70s? The first movie 70s, and then I think it's supposed
Yeah,
to
but
all
it's like the end of the 70s. It's like 79.
Yeah.
But Tommy Jarvis in the last 2 movies ago is like 13, and then in the last movie he's like 15 or 18.
Well, I assume that this
like in his
movie,
20s.
I assume that this movie and the last movie take place a year apart, like every other fucking Friday the 13th movie does, except for 4 and 5. But you know what? Again, this is why I don't care, because I'm like, who gives
that's a good
fuck? It doesn't matter.
At any rate, Tommy Jarvis comes up with the most harebrained plan ever. He's bumbling in this plan. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he's sure that it has to be this. He goes to a graveyard.
I mean, he's also escaped from an insane asylum.
He's escaped from an insane asylum with his pal.
His friend Alan. Who's very
this
important.
Is a bad idea. Yes. He's renowned. Well, he comes back.
Sorry,
spoilers.
that's my cat.
Oh no, you've disappeared into the background.
It was
You
my
have to come.
abyss of a cat just walked in front of the screen. So
That's amazing. Your cat's an abyss. It's a curse. The curse is here.
the black cat crossed the screen. We're all cursed now.
Oh God, it's a super curse. But his big plan is to dig up Jason, who is just fine buried. You know what? They get there. They decide not to bury him.
He wants to burn his corpse.
He wants to burn. He's like, I'm going to dig him up. I'm going to burn his corpse. But, it starts to rain, as it does. He stabs him with a pike. That gets hit by lightning, brings Jason back to life, which is fucking a great moment, a great scene in a horror movie, a great resurrection, as Steve said to me in the chat earlier. Mm-hmm. And then he gets up out of the grave covered in the gas that Tommy has put all over him, and Tommy's just like struggling to light a match in the rain. It doesn't happen.
I don't think he knows what weather is. Like, I don't think he realizes he's in a thunderstorm and it's raining. It's not gonna light.
Why didn't he pull a Zippo? If he pulled a Zippo out and
Jason, that would have been the end of the movie.
Right, credits again. But Alan gets impaled for his troubles, ends up back in the coffin. Oh yeah, it's the heart rip. And let me look at my notes here. Time to dig him up and burn him. I think digging here is the mistake, was the note that I made. Mm-hmm. And he's a disgusting maggot boy.
Yeah, he was gross.
It was very gross. I may
as well stab him a little bit more.
I think that was the grossest part of the entire movie, was the amount of maggots and worms that were inside of his skull alone. I didn't even pay attention to the ones in his chest cavity. But yeah, like I said, amazing resurrection. I like that Tommy is just crazy, and like, even though he's like, I'm not crazy, it's like, you are though. Like, the whole movie is happening.
A little crazy.
Yeah, you have
a little deluded
by the idea of Jason Voorhees. Also, his
he's
accent
not right. Like,
in
he's
this
not
movie.
Yeah, it sounds almost like he's Mexican or something. It's like a very strange. It's like a weird South American accent, but like being buried beneath. Maybe he has one, or maybe he just has like a weird speech impediment that makes him sound like he's from South
I thought
America.
It sounded like he had a lisp that he was like fighting to hide. Like he went to a linguistics coach to get rid of his lisp.
To me, it sounded like he was like, "Go on, get back to the cabin. Go on, get back to the cabin." I'm like, what is going on with this guy?
He's just from Baltimore.
Oh my God. It didn't bother me too much, but I did notice it. It was definitely noticeable. I think he's not wrong, right? Like, he is correct about everything that he's ever seen. He's never lying, but he is also insane because he's so dead set on escaping from an insane asylum to go to an abandoned graveyard to dig up a corpse so that he can burn the corpse just to be sure, just to make sure.
It's a little delulu.
It's fine. You just leave him buried. What's gonna happen?
He has to be sure, Jason. He has to be sure, Jason, that Jason's actually buried, Jason.
It's very confusing that my name is also Jason.
I will say there were two things that I really liked in this. Oh, bye, Stephen. there are two things I really liked in this scene. One, as a first-time viewer, when Tommy was having the whole moment with like holding the mask and then like kind of holding the mask above the corpse, I was like, can you please have a Cinderella shoe moment where like you just make sure that the mask fits? Like that's how you're gonna identify this body. To make
That would have
sure.
been great. Yeah.
Right? I
He's
was
like-
literally screaming at the screen. I was really
He's
hoping.
like looking through at the eyes.
Yeah.
Also, those eyes would have been eaten first. That's the other
Right?
thing that bugged me. I'm like, this guy, I mean, not to nitpick a movie about them using lightning to bring a corpse back to life, but I was like, okay, why are his eyes so beautifully blue and not eaten by the worms and maggots, but the rest of him is? You can't get around questioning it. It's not something you can be like, yeah, magical eyeballs. I'm like, then I want to see those eyeballs inflate with magic. Like, I want to see them, like,
I want to see them rebuild in some
exactly.
way. I also
It is
like
a-
that. Like, I think Zeus just has like a hot spot for any like monsters. Like, we got Frankenstein with lightning, we got Chucky with lightning, we got Jason with lightning. I'm like, this is perfect. Zeus loves horror movies. Theory.
There's always that element of lightning. There's elements of lightning. Wait till we get to the plug section of our show. Lightning's going to strike twice right here on Hey, Did You See This One? Thom McLoughlin, I did find out this in my travels. I forgot to bring it up in the pre-show, but or in the director part. He did want to mix horror with humor in a way that this whole opening scene is sort of meant to be tongue-in-cheek. It's meant to be over the top and ridiculous.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an old black and white Frankenstein movie. Like it's hilarious and it's so compelling to me. This is the kind of shit that I absolutely love. Like him ripping a piece of a fence off so that he has a metal spear and then stabbing a corpse over and over again, and then it getting struck by lightning a bunch of times. Like not even just once, it gets shocked multiple times to the point that the thing melts down and is like steaming.
It's also like the graveyard itself is like so old school, like Hollywood setup. Like you can just tell that it is a set, and it's so fun.
This is how, like, if they did make another Jason movie and it was like a Lego sequel and not a remake, this is the kind of intro that I would want. Is like, bring back old ass Tommy Jarvis. He's still insane, and he's like, I still need to make sure make Clint Eastwood playing Tommy Jarvis. He goes in, digs him up again.
Like there's that part in the Corey Feldman where he has like he like has a dream about almost this exact scene, right?
That's
like he's in a graveyard.
That's the beginning of the fifth movie. They got Corey Feldman back for 5 minutes at the beginning of the movie to do like a dream sequence flashback of him seeing two people dig up Jason.
That's very similar to like what happens here, which I thought was interesting. That must have been on purpose as well, right?
Tying it all together.
They probably were like, well, that's a really fun, interesting concept that was just a dream in this.
Let's do it for real.
Let's just do it for actual, like, there was probably a version of the script that called for it. And then they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And then they probably picked it up and were like, actually, yeah, let's do it. Let's bring him back as a fucking zombie. It doesn't always have to be a mutant, man. Let's just a supernatural being.
This movie kind of forgets most of the Jason lore up to this point, except for Camp Crystal Lake. His mother got decapitated, and that he terrorizes Camp Crystal Lake. Those are like the only real ties. They don't talk about this like copycat killer. They think Tommy's a copycat killer, which makes sense. He's an insane person. Yeah.
I mean, I think they forget it on purpose. Like they're just like, fuck this. It's not interesting. It's not fun. People like the actual Jason, and they're like, well, how do we bring it back? We'll make him a zombie, and then now he can just always come back, and we never have to really worry about getting rid of him for good. And even if we do, we can always bring him back supernaturally. Even when in Freddy versus Jason, like Jason's been gone for so long that Freddy is the one that has to figure out how to bring him back, which is like, that's a cool concept too. Like, how do I bring back a demon? I need my demon powers. Anyway, we'll talk about that movie in 4 years when we get to it. But
in one calendar year from now.
Yeah.
Tommy flees while Jason retrieves his iconic hockey mask and begins his killing spree. Alan ends up in that coffin, which is a plot point for a little bit later. And this was the first movie to officially make Jason a supernatural undead entity, shifting his persona to an unkillable zombie, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much better when he's like just a big guy who can take a lot of damage. It's just kind of a Michael Myers-y kind of a thing. I think Michael Myers is about to get real supernatural in the next couple movies, though. That's my prediction.
I think it's over now. I think he's dead.
He's dead.
That's what they always say.
That's
I
what they all
know,
say.
but usually they'll have a thing where like where'd he go at the end? You know, like his imprint will
Something.
be on the grass or something. Like he's not here anymore. But you're right. He can always come back. But I think in the last one they really went out of their way to be like, he ain't getting up this time.
He's dead.
Bisected him both ways.
Yeah.
Quad-sected him.
Yeah.
This movie has I like to talk about credits sequences when it's like necessary, and I think this one's necessary to talk about because it's kind of James Bond.
They gave him a golden eye treatment.
It's not kind of. It is 100%.
It's so
He
evil.
walks into
God.
frame glowing blue, almost like the Nintendo version of him, and he slashes the screen much like James Bond getting like the barrel over him. And then as the names come up, there's just like these like early CGI slashes of blood, or possibly animated. They looked like early CGI.
I think it was like Labyrinth level. They're like, we figured out liquid. Let's do it in the credits, the opening credits. It's gonna cost $1 million, but it
Worth
looks
it.
great. Yeah.
I will say that was like the part of the movie, like near the beginning. Obviously, I was enjoying the entire like lead up with the graveyard scene, but once that hit with the golden eye moment, I was like, oh, okay, I'm in for a treat. Like, let's go. I just fully dove.
You might actually like 3 then, because
I
like the
probably will.
three is full of like weird gags like that, but like
I love a gag.
this one is I always forget about it until it happens. I know it exists somewhere in the pantheon of the Jason movies, and like there's like a weird Goldeneye one, isn't there? And it's this one, the one that everybody loves. But yeah, it's like, so instead of it being the barrel of a gun, it's the iris of his own eye. Like,
Incredible.
but I do love that shot of him like turning to the camera and then it like multi zooming in on. I use it in the opening video. It's like one of my favorite shots in all of the Jason movies, period. But yeah, it's so out of place and strange. And like, as much as the movie is full of weird gags, that one is just directly like a reference to, like, we're gonna do the James Bond thing. Like, whose decision was that and why?
Right on the money. I also like to like movies like this where they put all the credits at the beginning too. Like, there's something that just like warms my heart when I start watching a movie and I'm like, oh, here are all the names, and like, let's sit in for like a little story time around a fire. It's like, it feels nice. I like it.
I've since the beginning of doing the Grimoire, I've always complained about the credits for Jason movies because they're kind of boring, and this movie still isn't doing anything with them. It's like every other one also does all the credits at the beginning, but they have an interesting, fun way. Like Tim Burton movies, how they have like running.
Like Sweeney Todd did it, and it was like so good.
He does it in all of his movies, right? He has the opening credits is part of the movie in a way that it's like, it's not just playing over a scene. It's like, no,
It
we're
like
gonna have
sets
a
up the
whole
world.
Yeah, we're having a whole thing, like, if you use Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it's like, we're going through the chocolate factory and everybody's name is printed on a chocolate bar. Where it's part of the event, it's not just there to be like, here's information.
Yeah.
And in the second Chucky movie, it's like the good guy doll factory is like, all the dolls are being, on a conveyor belt and stuff. And it's like, it's fun, it's interesting, and it's giving you like a peek into an area of the world that you're not going to be seeing in the movie necessarily. Whereas like, since the first Friday movie, man, it's always been like, I'm like, oh, these are so boring. And then I think it's the third one where it's like, I'm like, oh, here come the boring fucking credits, and then there's an explosion. And then it does the boring credits. I'm like, well, at least they gave us an explosion this time.
That's fun.
And Halloween is always just a pumpkin. They even brought it back in the new ones.
That one is like, it's moody and kind of frightening, and the music is good. Whereas Jason, it's like just white on black, baby. That's all you get.
We get a kind of two things happening at once during this section where Tommy's, he rushes in to warn the police. The police are being useless. They say, better shut up before I paint this room with your brains, which I thought was a really funny line. And then meanwhile, Jason's, we get the first kill. There's two I guess they're counselors going up to the lake.
They're Megan's friends. That's why they like Megan and friends show up after, and they're like, "Our friends are missing, Dad."
Right.
Yeah.
Why?
And Darren and Lizbeth, they stumble upon Jason on the road, and this establishes, of course, that Jason's on his way back to, do what Jason does best, and that's kill people. And then this kill is funny because like the dude is like being totally macho, but he's a dork, and he pulls out a gun, and it's like a pea shooter. And then
It's not time to be a hero, dude. Like this is not it.
She turns into a little crick and like tries to pay off Jason with a credit card.
So good.
And then like the kill shot is just the American Express card floating in the puddle, and I'm like, oh, Jason doesn't expect. He doesn't take Amex. Get out of here.
Doesn't take Amex. Just like now in 2024, a lot of places don't take Amex.
He was ahead of his
still
time.
Doesn't take Amex. Yeah, he's still.
But possibly the weirdest product placement of all time. Also,
Tony Goldwyn was the guy who gets killed. He's now probably the most famous actor of all the actors in this entire movie. But yeah, it's weird to see. A lot of the Friday the 13th movies have, a man or a woman who are at the very, very beginning of their career where they just are there just to die via Jason in a Jason movie, and then it's like, oh, they go on to have a bright future later. Like Kevin Bacon is in the first,
like Kevin
one, right?
Bacon, and a lot of slashers do this. Like Johnny Depp in the first Nightmare.
Yeah,
I think Paul Rudd's in one of them, either in Halloween or the next Nightmare we do.
They/them.
No.
I want to see it. I haven't seen it either, but it looks like a fun concept. But Kevin Bacon is like a camp counselor, or a camp director, and he runs a camp for like, it's almost like a conversion camp for queer kids. And he's like the camp director. And I had forgotten. I saw the trailer for it the other day. It's been out for a while, but I was just like going through, like, we're thinking about doing a queer cinema month. I was like, well, what are some movies we can do? And I was like, wait a minute, he's in the movie that spawned these types of movies, because it is very much like a Friday the 13th. It's just like the concept is, what if it's a conversion camp for queer kids and there's a murderer on the loose? And I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. And then I'm like, Kevin Bacon's in it. Is he going to be the murderer? Is he going to be Jason Voorhees? Is there going to be a hockey mask? Is there going to be a modern hockey mask, like a goalie helmet?
Crossover for sure.
Yeah, or a cricket mask, umpire mask.
An umpire mask. I think they just wear hats in cricket.
Do they?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Well, there is a person behind the cricket pole.
Sports.
And I'm pretty sure like the cricket ball is like just a rock.
Yeah,
like,
cricket goes on for days. Also, cricket is a weird sport.
Anyway, it was nice to see him, but he's also one of those actors that you're like, that's that guy who's in that thing, and you can go through like an entire Rolodex of different movies. You're like, I know he was in Oppenheimer. I know he was in The Sixth Day, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway.
Starring there's a great line here too, where I think the woman says, "I've seen enough horror movies to know to run away from a guy in a mask."
Yeah,
which is,
and then she turns around to reverse. And she's looking behind her, even though there's just 1 million items in the back seat. It's like, what are you looking at?
Also, like, there was room. Like, you didn't have to back up into the puddle. You could have U-turned. But instead, you were like, no, I'm going to fight this scary man in the woods. Mistakes were made.
He's going to prove
the kill for the guy is funny, too, because he stabs him in the gut with the pole thing that he got stabbed with, and then flings him.
And I like that he wasn't attached to the pole as it goes over his head. Like, you can see this guy's just like jumping over, like trying to time it up.
I think it was a dummy. I think it was just
it might have been a dummy.
Poorly constructed dummy. It
was very funny.
He threw him into space. Jason can throw people into space, or he, at the very least, he's in the top of the trees now. You never see him again. You never see their corpses either. Yeah. So it's just, they're just gone forever. Yeah. Jason takes the Amex card. That's where he gets that sweet belt. He goes to the hardware store and buys it.
That's it.
No, that's a deleted scene. Yeah, he goes and he's like, shh, shh, shh.
Doesn't kill the store clerk. Yeah, it pays with an Amex.
He buys
the guy like
and a bunch of little knives.
It's like No Country for Old Men, where Javier Bardem's just going around fucking killing people, but instead of the coin flip, he just buys something with an Amex.
I do like that he is kind of like upping his game in terms of like, I need to have more than just my one item. You're gonna have a bunch of tools, because usually he just picks things up and like comes at you with them. But in this movie, he's like, no, I'm gonna use this belt and I'm gonna fill it up with knives. And
He's got improvised weapon as a skill, so that makes sense.
Yeah, he basically can use anything as a weapon, but he also is now just picking things up and taking them with him, which is good because like it just feels more like he's like, I'm not just mindless now. I'm like, I'm gonna go get some killing done today, and I'm gonna do it efficiently. I'm gonna do it as efficiently as I possibly can.
Which I like the fact that it took zombie version of Jason, like as a corpse brought back to life, to be like, I'll figure my stuff out now. I got it.
all that lightning got rid of all his brain fog. He's no longer enraged. He's just like, I just need to kill. That's all I gotta do, guys.
They also decided to have the shiniest machete in the history of film.
It's so funny. It's too shiny. It makes it look like it's not real. Or I'm like, that's not real. That can't be
made of
real.
tin foil.
Yeah, it's gonna bend.
Later on, when it's covered in blood, it literally looks like it's bedazzled. Like with the way that the light hits it, it looks like someone just put little like red glitter all over it.
Because they somehow congealed the fake blood in this movie in a really interesting way. Like when he gets stabbed, when he gets punched through the chest, his hand's all covered in that like, you know, scarlet bedazzled looking blood as well.
It's so corn syrupy. I love it. I'm like, this looks like when people go out for Halloween and like use fake blood like corn syrup. I'm like, oh, that looks like that. That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, Tommy talking to the sheriff sort of meanwhile in all of this, tries to warn the sheriff. Garris, is that the name of the sheriff?
I just called him cop sheriff guy.
Yeah, bumbling police officer number 1 and number 2.
CJ Graham. Oh, wait,
Okay.
no. That's the guy played Jason. Whoops, never mind.
Sheriff Garris.
Sheriff Garris, yeah. What a terrible name.
Wow.
He just dismisses him and throws him in jail.
I like that also when Tommy enters the station, like immediately a gun is pulled on him. And I'm like, if anybody enters this station, are they going to get shot? Like, what is happening here? What is the protocol? I don't know.
Maybe he's on edge. Maybe he heard about two maniacs escape from an insane asylum, and you better be on high alert. Also,
he's jumpy.
Hurricane coming. Also, someone broke into the graveyard and dug up a corpse.
And dug up a corpse secretly, though, because we find out later that nobody knows about that except for the groundskeeper. I do like that this, like, horror movies from the 80s and 90s have this long line of showing police as completely inept when they were still kind of seen in pop culture on the inverse as being these, like, they're here to serve and protect.
Like,
but I feel like, but filmmakers back then knew how shitty police are.
Well, I think it's also always been sort of a thing where it's like widely accepted that you do not necessarily have to be a very smart person to be a police officer. You just have to be able to like memorize laws and be physically adept.
And also in this time too, like if we
not to say that's there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If you're a police officer watching this, you're probably a bastard. But you know,
yeah, fuck you if you're a police officer watching this. That too.
In the 80s too, like there was a lot of obviously like serial killers were like a hot commodity in this time in real life as well, and there were many cold cases and many cases that weren't discovered until much later because of police investigation negligence, right? So it's like it kind of makes sense that it would bleed into our films as well.
Yeah.
Just as a small aside, like if you think about the 80s and even most of the 90s, there weren't small cameras and there definitely weren't camera phones. So I just imagine in the 80s, people were just getting away with everything all the time. And then compound that with the rich were probably like the rich get away with everything now with cameras everywhere. But the
Money
rich
buys everything.
In the 70s and 80s were probably just disappearing people all the time with no downside for them.
Yeah.
Like the mafia ran wild as a secret syndicate pretty easily through the 70s and 80s. That's why it's so prevalent in film to make movies about the crime life, you know. Yeah. This for you.
I shoot a guy in Times Square and nobody would take me to jail about it over here.
Stop.
That's just Donald Trump. I had so many people removed from society.
I haven't even tried to like perfect a Donald Trump impression. That's just my version of it.
Hey, no.
Accent. Yeah. Right. So Tommy's now in prison for no reason. And Jason's
He's an
making his way to-
escaped lunatic. What do you mean for no fucking the reason he knows who he is because he's like, wait a minute, you're Tommy Jarvis, the one who escaped from the fucking insane asylum?
Also,
you're
if you
going to
escape
jail
from an insane asylum and then go to the cops, maybe don't give them your name immediately. Like,
yeah, he's like, my
he's
name's
Lulu. He's not
Jason
Johnny
Voorhees. Fuck, I mean,
Jarvis.
just kidding. Just kidding.
yeah.
We're introduced to the cast of counselors
Megan and
Who-
friends.
who it's like an inside joke with them that they're at, it's not called Camp Crystal Lake anymore, but this is where it all happened. And then this movie does a unique thing that we've never seen before. There's actually children at the camp, which I don't think
It's also a weird thing where it's like a weekend camp. I guess maybe it's the off season. It's not actually supposed to be summer. Like it's just like President's Day weekend or some shit. I don't know.
okay.
Because it's like, what are we gonna do this weekend? We're gonna have fun. Why are we gonna do it this weekend? Because it's a fun weekend to do it.
What are
I'm
we?
like-
We're not gonna eat Brussels sprouts.
We're not gonna do that either. Yeah. And then they're like, she's like looking at her friends for guidance or whatever, and one of them is just doing this, like pointing at her butt. And I'm like, what is that? What is she indicating? What are we gonna do? Shit everywhere? Like, what are you saying to me? No,
And then
shake
we pop.
booty. Oh,
Yeah, it was a new concept at the time. It was all the rage. They were listening to, new wave music, which was also new in '86, and shaking their butts. They were
I
teens.
do remember when I first saw this movie that when the kids showed up, I was like, oh, they're gonna do like a proper summer camp, and like, there's gonna be more peril, and Jason's gonna be causing much more havoc within the camp setting. And then they just like put the kids to bed and they're in bed the whole movie. It's like, oh, nope,
Yeah.
never mind. The kids are just sleeping the whole time. They don't
Except
really
for
add
Nancy.
it. Well,
Nancy's having a bad
yeah.
time.
Nancy seems like she probably does that at home too. It's like, Nancy, go to fucking bed. God damn it. Why do you keep bringing machetes to my room, Nancy?
Covered in glitter.
Yeah. But yeah, they didn't really do anything with it. I like the idea, but I feel like they could have done a lot more. It's probably a thing where there was probably a version of the script where like a bunch of fucking little kids got killed.
Maybe.
And
I
they're like,
also
we can't
wonder-
kill kids on camera, guys. We're not allowed to do that.
Audiences also like are different between generations too, right? As like film changes over time, like we get more desensitized, I guess. So I wonder if it was also like an extra like scary factor for people in that era to be like, oh god, no, not the kids, like kind of giving them that
30-year-old
extra thing where I'm just like, I don't know, they might die, but I know they won't because they don't kill
Are
kids
there-
on screen in this era of filmmaking.
Are there any famous movies that have like kids getting killed on screen? There's a very famous movie that has the implication of
Blob?
many kids getting killed.
You've seen the
Star
Blob?
Wars.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kill them
well,
all.
Have you seen
Oh,
the
the-
Blob from 1980?
Yes.
Something?
The Blob eats kids.
Yeah, the kid melts on screen. He's like a little kid too. He's like, my fucking jacket keeps sticking. God damn it, Mom! Why do I have to wear this stupid piece of shit jacket? And then he goes out, and then the reason that he dies is because his jacket gets stuck on him in a door, and then he gets melted to death. It's really gruesome too. There's like a decent amount of movies that do it, but I can't imagine like Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees also like doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would kill kids. Like he's just
That
kill the teenagers. He doesn't want to kill
is a
them.
theory that I was going to bring up later. Jason doesn't kill kids because he has no connection.
That's what Freddy Krueger does.
Yeah.
And Chucky
Yeah.
doesn't want to kill them either. He just wants to swap into their bodies.
He wants to
Perfect.
befriend them and swap his soul into their body.
Yeah.
Also easier to manipulate for Charles Lee Ray. Just being like, just
Absolutely.
do this.
They added an extra
hide
element
this
Charles
soul.
Lee Ray in that last one that made him seem way more gross, but
Yeah, they don't really go along with that after that movie though, which is good.
I don't remember that. I don't
Yeah,
remember-
yeah, we did it on the show. Remember
Yeah,
she
I don't
gets
remember a
shot through
kid
her ice
being-
cream cone?
Oh yeah, when he shows up and kills the dad and then kills. Yeah, okay, but that's not really like a horror movie. That's more of a thriller.
Still, it's a John Carpenter movie, so the
Right.
Masters of Horror. So I would say that it counts. That's basically a zombie movie, Assault on Precinct 13.
That's true. I wanted to talk about how we cut over to Martin the caretaker, finding the open the open grave and being like, oh man, the boss is gonna get my gullet for this, but not if I dig it back up. And I know that Jason's in there because I can see the foot sticking out of the coffin. And I'm like, dude, you gotta put the foot back in the coffin.
He doesn't care.
He literally says
He's
he's not
so
doing it. He
bad at his
says to the
job.
camera, like,
Those fucking assholes didn't even put the body back into the casket properly. And I'm not going down there to do that. Fuck that.
He looked right at me and said that I, the viewer, have a strange idea of entertainment,
Yeah.
actually.
and then I
I
looked back
also-
at him and I said, shut up, old man.
Continue
And
the
he did.
movie.
Yeah, and then he did, yeah.
I also really like this actor's choice of like when he drinks from his like whiskey flask, whatever. Whenever he drinks, it's like I don't think this actor has actually ever had a drink in his life because the acting of it is just so incorrect and like
Yeah.
wild. I'm like,
It's like he does the
what are you
opposite of
doing,
it.
sir?
It's like, usually you take a sip and then you go, oh, you don't go, oh.
Right?
It's like he's doing heroin or something. You're like, oh my God.
Oh, maybe
guy is
it's
addicted to
heroin,
alcohol.
like liquid heroin in the bottle. I don't know.
Maybe.
be.
But yeah,
Theory.
it's like he's possessed by a ghost and then drinking the juice calms the ghost in his bones.
This is later in the movie when he's walking through the woods, just slamming whiskey out of a glass bottle. When's the last time you saw alcohol in like the small Mickey form?
In glass?
It's been plastic for 35 years, right?
I think there's still some bottles that are glass. I can't
There
tell
are,
you
like
them off the top of my head,
like
but
a
I'm sure they
40.
exist.
Also,
Also,
the fancier bottles still do it.
Yeah.
Fancier boozes.
I want to go back really quickly before I forget, just to when Megan and friends go to the station, because I don't know if either of you felt this, but the moment I saw Rip Jeans guy, I was like, oh, immediate crush, and I put it in my notes. I'm like,
I'm glad you said that because we're gonna be like, boner alert.
I was literally like,
literally,
I love you immediately.
Me
So,
too, yeah.
needed to call it out.
And then he later has the most unconvincing sex scene I've ever seen in my life. And I was
Literally,
like,
I
come
also
on.
wrote, I was like, this man is definitely not straight. In my
No,
notes.
he's
very
he's definitely a theater major or something in real life. Yeah,
Also,
Megan's
those jeans
trying to,
were ripped all the way up to like
All
the
the
point where
way
you're
up.
like, geez Louise, man.
And he had like a
You're working at a
kinda
summer
crop
camp.
top. Oh,
that wasn't really even a style until like 1991. He was pretty
It obviously
going pretty
was
against
because
the
it was in
grain.
this movie. It was in this
I know,
movie.
but like when early grunge, before it was just like plaid and stuff, and like late hair metal, early grunge was that exact look. Like if you go look at the band Faith No More, or early Pearl Jam, or like Anthrax before they became like heavier metal, they all dressed like that. Extreme, the band Extreme, it was a look. The Chili Peppers, Red Hot Chili Peppers, that's what they dressed like.
I have a question that might make me just sound uncultured and like I don't know the 80s. But you know the other friend who has like she's got like the red sweater and like white sweatpants, but she has like suspenders holding up her sweatpants that are like under the sweatshirt, and I just thought that was peak fashion that I've never seen before. Was that a thing?
It's
Did
like
people
the
wear that?
fitness. It's like a fitness outfit.
But suspenders with sweatpants?
Yeah.
Crazy. I love it. I'm bringing it back. Starting
it.
now.
Do it.
I
I think
must
that was a fitness thing, if I recall correctly. Because I can picture like maybe not with suspenders though. Maybe like the unitard with.
You think, yeah, like the
sweatpants that go up
bodysuits
over the
make
shirt.
sense.
Yeah,
But suspenders?
that's a good point.
Crazy.
Aha. There's a band called Aha in the early 80s, and they're wearing his exact outfit.
No, I just
wanted to like be like, I feel like I've seen people wearing this before, like musicians and stuff. Yeah, it's like it was like a real Bowie.
Well, Axl Rose in like '88.
But yeah, they're like the hair that he has the same hair. He's got the jeans ripped in 1,000 spots. The high top.
Take
sneakies.
on me.
Take on me. We're doing karaoke soon. We got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is around the point. I wrote a note that says Megan's trying to freak everybody out. Ha ha ha! Spooky.
She got
She
so
implies-
creepy all of a sudden. I was like, ooh.
She implies it's Friday the 13th. Doesn't say it.
Doesn't say it yet.
That's
We
coming.
learn later that it is. The cop ruins it. The cop
Yeah.
spills the beans.
He looks right at the camera, basically.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's no kids at the camp yet. And okay, so now we're at the paintball segment.
the weirdest out of place part, but it's also very funny. I think that the woman is like unsettling to me, where she's just got this weird plastered smile that is like very actory smile, but it's like it's almost like it never moves. Like she's talking through it and it's always huge. And I'm like, either she's doing a good job or they found this lady as like an actual executive from the studio. And we're like, you're creepy. you be in the scene. Yeah. But it's like
played by actor Anne Ryerson.
I know.
Oh. She was giving kind of like a Gone Girl moment. I don't know why, but like when I saw her on screen, it was just like,
yeah. And then there's the two guys who the back and forth between them is very similar to me and Jason when we do more than one episode in a week, where I'm like, shut up, and Jason's like, be mean, don't be mean. And I'm like, I said shut up.
Full peanut gallery, like just.
It's usually me saying the line, "It costs nothing to be nice."
Yeah, he says it like he invented that line, which it annoys me.
Immediately, shots fired. Steven.
It costs Steven nothing to be mean to me. There, I've turned a phrase.
It costs a lot to be nice. Thanks, Chucky's up. Anyway, these two guys are sort of arguing back and forth, but the one guy's like, I'm hungry or whatever, and the other guy's like, you need to think like a warrior or something. I can't remember what they're saying, but it's very silly.
He was very much in the zone. He's like, I don't like the way you act when we go out here and play this game. You change.
You change into a mean guy. And then she shows up and shoots them.
Mm-hmm.
And
she takes them out, yeah.
And then she makes them wear their dead headbands, which I'm like, that's kind of nice. The paint all over your clothes isn't enough. You have to wear an embarrassing headband that says dead on it.
It was also like a deep red color and not like bright, so you can't really see it on the camo. You're like,
that's true, yeah. I also like that they put on headbands that say dead and then they die, like immediately.
Well, that was the thing that set this movie apart for me immediately. And not only has he just killed, he's already killed 3 people at this point.
5, right? We got the 2 at the beginning. The couple with the champagne is also the same as the. Oh wait, no, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah, it's he Alan through the chest and the couple with the next to the car, and then he grabs these 3 people and decapitates all 3 at once.
Yeah, 3 kills, 1 slash. Wow.
He's killed more people at this point in this movie than I think he's killed total in other Friday the 13th movies.
I want to say that I feel like I remember an episode of Mythbusters or something where they were busting horror movie myths, and this was one of them where it's like, is it possible to decapitate 3 people with 1 machete as a human being? And they would like make a robot arm that can like cut off 3 heads at once, and they prove, yeah, you could. If you were strong enough, you could definitely do it.
And Jason,
you're an undead zombie from beyond the grave. Yeah.
Oh, Mythbusters.
That's a good time.
Another thing from my childhood that I loved.
They need a Lego sequel of that.
No, those 2 don't like each other, so I don't think they have all that money still. And it's like, I'm sure they're getting more and more all the time from it.
Residuals.
I
feel like Jamie Heineman doesn't like what's his face.
They don't like each other. Yeah,
they don't like each other.
Yeah, they liked working each other with each other as colleagues, but they just didn't like, out of the decade or so that they did the show, they like never went to dinner with each other even once. They're like, I'll see you at work on Monday, and do not call me over the weekend. Yeah. But Jamie also seems like the kind of guy who's like, I read about history until 7:30 p.m. and then I go to bed at 8 and I wake up at 4 in the morning and I do experiments. Yeah.
Different vibes.
Shave my mustache.
Yeah, he has to shave his head and trim his mustache for 3 hours before he gets to the warehouse.
Can I ask a silly question?
Yeah.
Okay, so because you guys know the other movies and I don't. So I always thought that Jason, when he killed people and was like going after them, nice. He's like a slow walker like Michael Myers. But in this, I don't know if it's just introduced in this and then it continues, or it's just this movie where it's like he'll walk and then all of a sudden I think he has teleportation. Like I'm not really sure how it works.
This is the first time that I noticed that he's got the ability to just disappear and then reappear
Okay.
a
Does that
kilometer.
continue on?
This
Or
is
that
the
just-
one where he also
gets
is now a
crazier and
mystical being,
crazier.
so he can
Yeah.
do whatever he wants after this. Basically, him getting struck by lightning and brought back from hell or wherever he was has given him abilities that he didn't necessarily have in the other ones.
Right.
The other movies, it would be like he's lying there, you think he's dead, you look away, you look back, and he's still there. You look away, you look back, and he's gone. You're like, fuck. And then you're like, then you like see him moving. You're like, oh, he's here, and you could hide from him and stuff. In these movies, it's like, no, you don't really hide from Jason. He's just always constantly chasing you.
Just like a spider in your apartment.
Yeah, but even in
Something
like I
like-
played a lot of the game, the video game.
I was hoping you would talk about this to
And,
Cass because this is important,
and
in my opinion.
again, this version of him is my go-to skin. It's the skin that I use in the game when I have my Jason, like gloves and belt. I love gloves and belt. And yeah, you've got all these preset powers, but they also, there's like an Evil Dead vision camera where you can like move like the Evil Dead camera.
Oh, that's fun.
It's basically teleportation. Then you can teleport from spot to spot on the map at large distances. And as soon as you hit water, as soon as you go beneath the water, you basically turn into mist and like you can like move like.
He also has like
Like
he also has
vampire
like
mode.
he has like a heat vision sonar too, so he can like see through buildings to know where he's going.
Well, if
That's
you're
so cool.
outside, he knows exactly where you are. But if you go into a building, the whole building glows, so he'll know someone's inside the building. But when you're in there, you have to like determine where they are inside the house.
Cool. I like it. That
Yeah,
does kind of make sense with also what he's doing. I'm like, oh, I can see that he has those powers.
I mean, Jason is like the perfect character for them to be like, well, what are the rules here, and how do we turn them into video game rules? And they're like, well, we figured it out. We cracked the code. It took us half an hour because all this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I saw the Jason in the intro, and I thought, oh, the blue Jason that you can buy an action figure of from the original Nintendo game, I thought was based on that, but it's not, because there's 2 more movies that come out before the Nintendo version of Jason, and I think the year that came out, it was the Jason Takes Manhattan. So he's on like a cruise ship and he's in a city, and they wanted
He's like
to pay
9 or
homage.
something, or 8.
Yeah, it's 9, I think. And they wanted to pay homage to this version of Jason with that, because in that game, it's a lot like this movie where the camp counselors are kind of running from cabin to cabin, and he's going into the cabin, and you have to like avoid him and fight him a little bit and get away from him. And I thought that was really interesting, because I could have sworn that Friday the 13th video game when I was a kid came out much earlier, but I think it's to offset the fact that they put Jason in a city in a couple movies from now, and they wanted people to be like, oh yeah, he's in Camp Crystal Lake.
Or what happened was they basically had 6 months to make the game, and they're like,
yeah,
oh, we don't know. And then the movie was like, we're not telling you anything, and then they just had to like guess. That's usually how like video games back then, they wouldn't give you enough information to actually make the game properly, like alongside the movie. So sometimes the games and the movies would be so vastly different from one another, just basically on the fact that like they didn't know what the movie was going to be about.
LJN specifically, the company that made a bunch of like they had like a Total Recall game and a Last Action Hero game and a Terminator game. They have nothing to do with the source material. And this one company made all these bad games based off movies because they got the rights, and then they don't tell them anything.
Yeah,
So-
but I mean, fair though, because they can't have too many people knowing, right? And
That's true.
those games are all shit anyway, so who gives a fuck? I much prefer a game where they like the Friday the 13th game that came out in our sort of adult lives. It's been out for ages now, but like they take the entirety of the Jason movies and they just create something from that. It ultimately led to trouble for them because it started as an independent game, then they didn't have the rights to anything, and it did well enough that people started being like, well, we can make a lot of money off of this, and they were trying to contact the people who owned Friday the 13th, and eventually it all just kind of crumbled to pieces. But they ended up partnering with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sorry, my brain is like, I'm over here and your mouth is back there. Hurry up, mouth.
It was one of
Sorry,
one
my
of
life.
the first asymmetrical survival horror games. It kind of started that trend along with Death Before Midnight or whatever.
Dead
Yeah.
by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight. Yeah. Is that the one, or is that
Is
the
that
other
the one where you can like play like as Ash and like a bunch of other like
Well, there's that.
Yeah, you
Yes,
play
there's
online.
that one where you can play with everybody. You can play
Yeah.
as everybody. You can play as like Scream, Chucky,
Yeah.
yada yada yada. But they have made more specific ones. Friday the 13th was one of the first, but there is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre one, which I think might be the most recent.
That's the one that I was trying to talk about before my mouth betrayed my brain.
And then there is a Ash versus Evil Dead one as well that came out a couple years
Which
ago.
only I have played.
Is it
No
good?
one I know has played it but me and my friend Brian. And yes, it's very good and it's very fun. And I wish more people would play it.
It's on Xbox?
It's on Xbox. Yeah.
Game Pass?
It's not on Game Pass. That's why no one. If it was on Game Pass, everybody that I know would.
We'd all be
by
playing
now.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd jump on
But
anytime.
it's so fucking good because you can play as the bad guys, you can play as the good guys. But it's not as asymmetrical as the old one. Like Jason is so asymmetrical that it's like one Jason, everybody else, there's 10 fucking counselors, and Jason just has to go and hunt them all down. Which now, if you play it now, oof, good luck if you're Jason, because the only people that play that now are like sweaty, greasy weirdos.
They're
all virgins, so you know Jason can't kill them. And you basically
that's the rules.
You basically just get shit kicked if you're Jason and you don't play enough to be able to fuck with people. But it is fun when you're a counselor and you're teamed up with all those dweebs. But yeah, it's kind of hard to find a group of people to play with these days because the servers are dead. They're dead. Anyway, that was our video game corner that took a long time.
So Jason reminds me of Final Fantasy, and this is why.
Oh my God, Jason!
I won't do it. I won't do it. There's no way. It doesn't work like that. But I did.
Sure, in the Final Fantasy universe, there's definitely something called Camp Crystal Lake for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Or at least Crystal Lake. Yeah.
I think in Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 14 is interesting. It's an MMO, but all the quests are like plays on different pop culture things, and there definitely is there's a lake that's called Crystal Lake, and you know, there's some
and lots
some
of camp
fun.
counselors die there every year, every season.
So the turbo sexist man has a machete, and his kill is so brutal. He's thrown face
the
first.
smiley face.
The way that it looked to me is he was thrown face first on a like broken branch.
Oh yeah.
And then when he falls off the tree, there's like a happy face in blood.
I think he like goes into the like branch, and then also his face smacks so hard against it. And I have a feeling Jason just put the smiley face there and was aiming for it. That's my theory.
I like that theory.
That's a good theory. I thought, the way I read it was that his face hit the stick, which is what killed him, and then it broke off in his head and he fell back, but like all the bark came off with it. But none of it really makes sense. It's just fun. But yeah, like
it's fun. Yeah.
The idea that there's a big blood stamp there already, and Jason was like blip blip blip, put a smiley face on it.
I just imagine Jason doing like a little jig after he did that kill. He's like, haha, that was fun. Next.
Yeah, no, he doesn't start doing jigs until Jason goes to Manhattan or whatever it's called.
Oh, okay. I'll get there.
Jason Takes Manhattan is a really bad movie, but there are some really good parts in it. Like,
I really want to watch the like spacey one. I watched the trailer for the one that came out in 2002.
Jason X.
I love Jason X, even though it's shit. Also, Jason X is the first Jason movie that I watched.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah. So I watched that, and then I was like, well, that wasn't bad at all. Let's go watch all of them now. And I did. And I was like, okay, they're all not bad. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Tim makes a very good point that Vincent from Final Fantasy VII turns into his limit breaks are different monsters that are famous. One is like a vampire werewolf thing. One is like a Frankenstein. That's a very good point, Tim. Thank you for tying Final Fantasy to this episode.
Tim is another Final Fantasy freak.
Well, let's do a Final Fantasy podcast. It's just me and Tim. It'll be 40 minutes long, and we'll get 1 billion.
40 minutes.
I would
doubt that.
Wait, we already did that movie. I was gonna say I would do that Final Fantasy movie that came. I'm like, oh wait, we already did that.
We did that ages ago.
Well, they made the one. What's it called? The Advent Children or whatever.
Advent Children, and then there's one for.
Cool.
There's one for Final Fantasy 15 as well. That's a pretty good standalone movie.
Well, look at that. We've already got 2.
Queen's Glaive.
We could redo Spirits Within, and
yeah.
If you guys,
that's your next birthday month, maybe, Jason.
Yeah.
That was my birthday month. But that's how we ended up doing that because I wanted to do adult.
No. That was That was adult. It was like an animation for adults.
Oh, that was just Oh yeah, no, we finished it with South Park to tie in with me doing all the Trey Parker and Matt Stone movies. So I got an extra week.
He squeezed an extra week out of his birthday.
We
month.
did. And then now we're never doing a straight comedy again because of the Trey Parker and Matt Stone. The infamous Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Too much to do comedy all the time.
Too much. Yeah. But this is a comedy. This, in my opinion, is a horror comedy in a lot of ways.
Oh, for sure.
Let me just get us back into the story. We meet the dorky guy. He's got his own theme, which like we talked about.
Paintball glasses, dorky guy?
Yeah. Thanks, World Mind.
They yell his name a bunch, but I forget what it is.
It's also my favorite.
Oh yeah, they do
probably
say his name a lot.
Dorko Malorko.
Dorky Malorky. I mean, he's the CEO of the company, so he's probably I don't know. I was gonna say he's probably pretty cool. He's probably got a lot of money. He's probably pretty smart, but he isn't.
That's a funny joke, Tim.
Mumbling idiot.
That is a funny joke. Jason, Amy. Steve, where are you?
Where are you?
I'm here.
I don't believe you.
Well,
the disembodied voice, Steve, for the win.
That's okay.
He's smoking crack again.
Oh, again?
Again.
I thought we got over this.
I can't do it on Twitch, so I have to do it off Twitch.
Yeah, that's fair. Understandable.
I talked about the triple decap. Dork guy runs away. Jason has fast walk powers, it seems. I noticed.
Yes.
Okay,
wait. Is this the part where like the cop sheriff guy and other cop guy actually like go and do something? Like I think the dorky paintball guy like is like blah blah blah, and then I think it's this scene where they get in the cop car and the line is "hit the noise and the cherries," and they like get the sirens going, and I was like, "That's amazing."
That's exactly this point. So Megan, the sheriff's daughter, and a counselor at Camp Forest Green, becomes interested in Tommy's warnings about Jason. Despite her father's protest, she helps him escape. And then I also have, following Tommy back home, he tries to go back and see the grave to dig him back up. This is where we get the line, "Does he think I'm a fart head?" And they basically take Tommy to city limits and they're like, "Get out of here.
Get out of town." Yeah, this is our first our first cut where like the cuts are, like someone will say something and then another person will say something in the next cut that like is a response to, and that happens a few times through the movie. I was kind of eye rolling. I'm like, okay, but I mean it's charming enough, but I'm like, oh God, okay. I get it, movie. I get it. You're trying to be a wise guy over here. I believe you can do it. You don't have to do it every time. But they do it.
I get it.
It wouldn't matter if Steve is pantsless because we're all pantsless. It's a podcast.
I didn't get the memo. I'm wearing pants, guys. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Earlier, before when I hurt myself and went, ow, I was like, it's still hurting. So I was checking.
Oh no. Did you break a toe?
No.
Okay, good.
I busted my own balls over here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, were you actually pantless?
Maybe. No one needs to know about it.
Nobody
just
needs
basically
to know.
confirmed it.
We have a potential for 3 more kills.
I was changing my underwear to tighter underwear. My underwear is too loose, and my pants are too loose, and I kept sitting on my own nutsack.
I know.
That's our episode for this week,
now.
and
beautiful. So now that everybody's put their pants back on,
stop! Don't touch. Stop! Don't touch anything for a second.
Boner
I had that stuck in my head the other day. I couldn't get out of my head. I was watching. You know what? This is where I'm like, oh, I do have brain rot. Where like you hear people say brain rot. I'm like, what is it even? I don't really understand what brain rot is. And then I found myself in a moment of brain rot where I was watching
the Ohio toilet. Yeah.
No, not that. I'm thinking of a more practical version of like a more explainable and tangible version of what it is, not just rambling nonsense words. I was watching that Menendez Brothers TV show, Monster or whatever, And there was a scene where this like lady was going bananas, and I pulled out my phone to comment on what she was saying. And I was
Steven.
I was like, what the fuck is happening to me? And like, I'm watching a TV show.
Steven.
Listen, I've been reading
trying to open the comments in real life to like comment.
I've been reading physical print media before, like a magazine, and I tried to scroll a magazine. So
that would be another example of brain rot. Yeah.
I think I need to take you camping. We'll hit up Camp Crystal Lake. It'll be fine. And get some fresh air. Get off your phones.
Yeah.
Listen, I love camping. Okay, so
then it like cuts to like 3 hours later. We're all around a fireplace, drunk, and Jason is doing like the Jojo Siwa dance or something crazy.
Okay, no, now we have to go camping because I need that to exist.
I'll learn
it. Amazing.
Jason reaches the camp where the kids are staying for the summer. However, instead of attacking the children, he focuses on killing the counselors. And then also, simultaneously, we have the potential for 3 more kills. Couple is getting engaged, and the caretaker is drinking his face off. Jason shows up, smashes the bottle, slams it into the neck of the caretaker.
Right, and right before, these like caretakers like, I love you so much. I know you're gonna kill me, but I don't care. Like talking to his drink, just immediately. Death.
Boom.
I was surprised, just based on like the slapsticky nature of this movie, that we didn't get a moment of him like pouring the alcohol out, like rubbing his eyes and being like, like pouring it out, like he sees something crazy, like an old Looney Tunes cartoon.
He was very Looney Tunes.
Yeah, but I mean, these movies always have a Looney Tunes old man who's like, you better get the fuck out of here, Jason Voorhees.
Don't want to go down that road.
Yeah. That's also like such a horror movie trope in general too, right? Like there's always the creepy old man that's like trying to warn you, trying to do something.
Cass, I agree, but you know, when you haven't seen the other ones, they literally every movie have an old, like it's like I
believe
like,
you.
Who are we gonna have as the old man in this one? It's all for the first 2, it's the same old man, and then the third one they're like, oh, we killed the old man. The other one, what are we gonna do now?
You know what?
You get the Jason point of view from the old man because he's a pervert also, and you think it's him, but you don't hear that. So it's not him.
Get it often in this movie either.
Surprise. I will say, if they ever do bring another movie to light, I really hope they get the actor who played Tommy in this when he's like older as an old man to play the old man.
Yeah,
that would be an amazing cameo.
They used to call me Tommy. Tommy Jarvis was my name. What's your name now? Tom Jarvis.
Tommy Jarvis.
Or Thomas.
Thomas Jarvis.
Jarvis Thomas.
I would really like them to do. I think they finally have. I've been saying this since we started the Grimoire. They finally sort of ironed out the details for the ownership rights of everything, but nobody's taken the plunge yet. And I really think they should just do a Lego sequel. Have someone like Tommy Jarvis come back. Have it be a sequel to Jason Goes to Hell or Friday or Jason versus Freddy, and set it in the winter. I want to see fucking blood in the snow.
Ooh,
I want to see
Until Dawn style, like
imagine like he busts through like a frozen crystal lake, like that's how it starts. Like,
if the next movie started like that, that would be incredible, right?
Someone's ice fishing on Crystal Lake, and then their fishing rod goes down. He's like, "What the heck?" And then a hand comes up and. Ding.
Also, if that does end up happening and this movie gets made, I feel like we should say it right now. Give us some money for idea. Just a little bit.
Let me write it. I could write an amazing Jason movie, I think.
Hire Steven.
Yeah, I could do it. Anyway, yeah. Frozen Jason. That's what it'll be called. It'll be called Friday the 13th, Part 13. Frozen when hell is over or something, you know.
11. Frozen Jason.
Hell freezes over.
Oh, you get a writer credit for that.
What the fuck?
I'll
I just said that.
Oh, I didn't hear you, Steven.
Cass gets all the credit for that one.
Okay, well.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it would be the 13th. If you consider oh wait, no, it would be 12. Yeah.
If you consider Freddy versus Jason as 11, then it would be 12. But Freddy versus Jason, in my opinion, is a Freddy movie.
It's a Jason movie too. It's both. You can do that. What do you think? Do you think that the Avengers movies only count as Avengers movies if all the Avengers are in it?
Well, no,
Yes.
but like Captain America 3 is Civil War, which is an Avengers movie, in my opinion. So,
Well, that's another example of brain rot. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has rotted our brains.
it's true. Listen, I'll get us
Okay,
back
sorry,
on track.
murders. We
He
got
double stabs these engaged couples.
the
Like, we get
champagne
more of that-
lovers.
Yeah, we get more of that blood, that
Bang.
crystalline scarlet blood with the chunks.
Mm.
Yeah, the blood in this movie is not great fake blood. It's too thin. Yeah, I guess.
Too sparkly.
It's too translucent. You can't see through blood like that. Blood is thick and like very red.
It's like dark red, like almost like black dark red.
Yeah. Watch a Tim Burton
Yeah.
movie. That's what blood should look like in a movie.
Mm.
Anytime you see Tim Burton blood, he's doing
It's
it right.
good.
Here's something. So we go back to, I think it's Rebecca and one of the other counselors playing a card game called Camp Blood.
Yeah,
I'd
that card game looks lame.
See lame. I was going to say I'd like to see if the rules make sense and if
It's just a
if you could-
guessing game.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
it.
also like you set up the cabins, and Jason is like a card that you draw.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then you
I'd
just
like to
guess
see if-
a pile.
I'd like
You're
to see
like
if the
that one.
rules.
And you're like, no.
Yeah, you like camping. Imagine playing Camp Blood while camping. And talking
Okay,
about
maybe that
Jason
would give
movies.
extra flavor. I would do that.
Right.
I'm always down to try it at least once. We're good.
I saw
I
a.
don't really understand how the rules worked either, but she doesn't really explain it that much. I think it was meant to be just a fun thing, but I think you could make a game pretty like if you pull something and it is Jason, either that like whole cabin dies and you have to reshuffle and like make a new cabin or something,
You could make it fun.
or you get knocked out of the game, maybe like Jenga or something.
Ooh.
Have you ever played that tabletop game where you use a Jenga tower and it's a collaborative storytelling?
Yeah,
where
we
one
played it
person-
with Scott.
I didn't play it, but
I
Really?
haven't played that, but
Yeah.
that sounds
Oh,
incredible.
Scott introduced me to that. I thought that
Yeah.
was just that's cool. It's very fun.
I wasn't there, but yeah, I've played
It's
it with
before Steven
with
times.
with my D&D group, and it's very fun. We did a very Camp Crystal Lake-esque sort of thing, but basically the idea is like you try and do something and you have to pull a Jenga piece out, and if you knock the tower over, your character dies. So
Mhm.
gets pretty precarious pretty quick.
It's very fun.
Yeah, pull a block from the tower. You drowned, you fell, and you drowned in a puddle. Like, what the hell?
Sounds like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Well, kind of
Well-
D&D in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Hey.
Boner
How did I
alert.
get into this? Speaking of boner alert, we get the sequence with the RV.
Yeah.
Court,
Snap to that.
What I was saying earlier, the most unconvincing sex scene I've ever seen. Neither of them look like they're
Ever.
enjoying the sex. They're not doing anything sexy.
well,
They're just
she's
She's
kind of doing a little
dancing.
dance.
I think
and
she's
he's
doing a
trying
workout.
not to ejaculate immediately. And she's like, you have to wait till the end of the song. And then he's like, how long's the song though? She's like, about 10 more
10
minutes.
Yeah. She was
I
in
also
the
liked her
Freebird.
line delivery of "That's so great," and I'm like, I believe you. I believe you wholeheartedly.
She wasn't a camp counselor, right? She was just there. Like she just
She's-
met up with this dildo, this ripped jean douchebag. Listen, I also had a crush
Listen,
on him. I
he's
was just
so
jealous.
cute,
He's a beautiful man.
so beautiful.
I also didn't like the way he talked to the kids. He was not talking to them like he was trying to make the story he was telling interesting. He was making it
Oh,
factual, like
yeah.
he was like talking to some guy on the street who he's trying to be cool in front of. And I was like,
It
well,
gave
make
me
it
vibes
interesting.
like he was telling his own personal like life story, but like through the lens of like
Right,
the
yeah. Like,
rocks. I like the way he delivered the lines, though. I know it didn't work obviously for the kids, but I liked his choice as an actor to read it like that.
I think what he was doing in terms of character was very good, but
Mm.
all I could think about was like, that's not how you engage with these kids. And then I had a mark of confirmation by those kids being like, if this is as interesting as it gets, then we're fucked, bro. We're
Mhm.
those two like weird kids.
But he
The
also
kids that you're
has
like, these
that-
are going to be kids that are going to be wise guying it up the entire movie, right?
They have wise guy
Yes.
lines later.
but much later, and they only have one kind of good one after, like when the other kid's like, "What were you gonna be when you grow up?"
I love that one.
Very good, very
He
good.
does have that energy of like he talks to kids like they're people, which is kind of what I do with kids. I don't like, oh, but I think it's funnier to just like, yo, what's up, buddy? Dap it up, homie.
I know,
Just
but you
like
can make
that.
things interesting for kids without talking to them like a
Yeah.
fucking person.
No, I think that kids want to be talked to like they're adults more than they want to be talked to like they're children, in my
I
opinion.
see. Have you ever worked with kids?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No, don't care to either.
I worked at a summer camp. Wasn't killed either.
So
by
they
Jason Voorhees.
wanted everything sugar coated, like they didn't.
I didn't talk to
appreciate-
them like I was a fucking like, ooh, okay, everyone, let's sing. Like I would talk to them like fucking normal adults, but I would make things more exciting and interesting, and not be like, yeah, okay, so what happens is when a man loves a woman and then his squall leaves or whatever, he knocks a pile of rocks over. Like I wouldn't do that.
That was a funny. It was kind of a funny sequence. Like, why are you telling the story to these kids in the first place? Like, as the he's trying to explain that the pile of rocks means that somebody was there, and it's kind of like a survival thing. But then he's just telling this incredibly sexist story to them. To
Also,
these
the kids don't have the attention span for like how on and on he was going with that. They were like,
or the
"What are you
context for what in the
talking
It was
about?"
like
fuck
a
he's talking about.
jabbering
Exactly.
fool. Yeah, like he just kept going and going, and you're like, oh my god.
Well, he just wanted to go get laid immediately after. I think that was focus. He was
Right.
like,
He's just trying to
gotta
get
go
through
do this.
the rock survival rock presentation so that he could go meet his lady.
His
And I
random
think it's
girlfriend
her
who has
RV,
who has a
right?
site
Like she
that has
drove
power.
up with the
Yeah.
RV.
I
She's
know.
like, "Oh, my dad's gonna kill me because of power."
Now, like, have you guys ever gone camping and had a site that had power on it?
They're gonna
I've
say a
never-
psychopath come for you in the woods. Like, no,
Hasn't
no, I haven't.
happened. Not yet.
just come out of the woods, killing and thrilling. I've gone to a lot of campgrounds where you can get a powered site, but we never do that because we're already glamping. We already have like the dining tents and the nice tents that you could park a car in, sized, and we bring a propane grill and we're doing mushrooms and we're being.
And your
nightmare
car is
people.
right there next to you.
The car is right there.
Yeah. So it's not like you don't get into a canoe and portage to like an island or something.
Yeah.
We've discussed it. It's not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, it's been discussed at like house parties we've been to. That said, I'd love to do it, but it would be a whole thing.
Took a while to get.
Well, the answer is no. Yeah.
Tired for Jason Brain. I'm so sorry, dude.
So tired. Was that longer than it felt like? Because
It was
felt
a
like
long no. Yeah, it was a very long no. I haven't. Yeah.
Oh man,
It was good though.
It was. I was trying to think of who it was. It was Chrissy who, and Lee who want to do it, and me and Madison are fully down to do it. But it would be a whole thing. to
Yeah, it's a
do.
lot of
not
work,
like-
man.
It's not just driving an hour out of the city and going to a campsite with like Jenny and Mike.
Yeah, me and my
would
friends
normally
have done
do.
it many times, and we plan it all year. Like it's not like we are like, let's talk about this 2 weeks in advance. It's like, no, we're gonna talk about this for 6 to 7 months before we figure out when we're gonna do it. Kind of.
Yeah.
Also, I think I just called her Chrissy.
You did, and I didn't want to call you out on it because I've already called you out too many times in a row. So I was like, should I say, did you just say Chrissy?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Christy.
Yeah, you should never call Chrissy, especially when you're camping, because that's how you summon Jason Voorhees to get someone killed, is if their name is Chrissy.
You just
Chrissy,
scoots
wake
out of the
up.
water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the RV sequence goes from a classic Jason Voorhees sneak around to a full-on action horror sequence with
was
a moving
good.
RV. I loved this so much because they're doing their teen romp thing. They're having sex, and then it keeps
Which means
cutting to like,
death.
which means death, and it keeps cutting to Jason outside fucking with them.
Mhm.
And they're so clueless because they're dumb teens. He just like pulls out the power cord and just doesn't even like pull out the plug, just severs it. The power goes down. They're like, we got to get out of here. They're spooked by it, and that's when they start to drive off. And as they're driving off,
This was also the second moment that I'm like, it's not summertime. This is fall or something. This
It's
is some
like
sort of
fall,
weird,
right?
like
Yeah.
some sort of Thanksgiving weekend.
like September.
Well, because like when she's like, "Can you go plug it back in?" He's like, "Do you have any idea how cold it is out there?" I'm like, "Where are you?" This is not the summertime. You can run outside for 2 seconds in your underwear to plug something back in.
I also thought it was really funny that he's driving away and he starts blaring music and driving so fast that she's like falling down repeatedly. I was like, this is just funny. Like, this is just a played for comedy sequence.
It felt a lot like the level of humor of like a Bride of Chucky or something, where it's like it's heightened to the point that it is cartoonish, and it, like you said earlier, it's consistent throughout. So I'm never at any point faulting the movie for their decision, because I'm like, at least they're sticking to it and they're not trying to make me feel anything other than like people are in peril, but I'm also having a great time watching.
It's like whimsy. This would be a great movie, I think, in 1986 to go to the drive-in and see with your friends. This is what this feels like. They're not doing the 3 bullshit anymore. Now it's just like horror can be comedy too, you guys.
Yeah.
It also, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because there's a funny RV sequence in Bride of Chucky, right?
Yeah. Well, I think they're in a van, but yeah. Wait, no, there is an RV.
No,
yeah, they kidnap
RV,
like an old couple in the end. Don't they like cook one of them or something? Yeah.
Yeah. But Chucky and
Tiffany,
Tiffany keep arguing about like gender roles.
Yeah.
These cookies taste like shit, Tiff. Yeah.
You overcooked them.
Yeah.
They're burnt. Right. So Jason's in the bathroom. He was in the bathroom the whole time as they pulled away. He murders Nikki.
How'd he get in there? Skylight?
Right?
Did he come up through the septic tank?
Probably.
I mean, if he can turn into mist, he can just come through the shit tube or whatever. I don't know how an RV works, but
I thought that Nikki's kill was especially funny because we just get a brief second of her face being pushed through, I guess, the door, which is made of like
aluminum.
Some sort of very thin metal. Yeah, like aluminium. So she's toast. She's screaming and dying, and he's got music blaring, so he thinks that she's rocking out. Yeah. He's driving wildly, and then Jason comes out and grabs him, and the fucking RV flips. And then we get a great like Jason punching the door out and just like leaving.
Yeah. They do a good job of like every time Jason does something in this movie, he has a victory moment to like leave, and you feel triumphant for him. You don't really feel that bad for the people he's killing. You're more like, yes, Jason, go more carnage.
I actually have a worthwhile fun fact for this. The RV flip was a practical effect, obviously, achieved by driving a stunt vehicle at high speed and launching it with an explosive charge.
Whoa, an explosive charge? Oh. Sorry, I just made Jason laugh so hard that he farted on camera.
No, you did a fart sound effect that made me laugh so hard that I farted.
Aww. My internet just glitched out, so I don't know what you guys were talking about. I think I heard something about the aluminum mirror that's really cool. That's about it.
The aluminum, and then we talked about the end, and I talked about a practical effect with the RV, resulting in a fart sound effect.
Yeah, he said that the RV was a practical effect and that they used some sort of fart technology to launch it through the air.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, it was actually a good fun fact. Okay,
it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was just being a goofy guy. Me and Chucky over here were just having a good time.
Oh, also, Teenage Frankenstein by Alice Cooper is the song that he's blaring, and then when you watch the credits, Alice Cooper did the soundtrack for this fucking whole movie, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't stick around for the credits. Yeah.
The end credit song was like a very much like he's wearing a mask and coming to kill you. That's not how it goes.
So it was like a real like it was a real go ninja.
It's about that.
Ninja, go ninja.
Paraphrasing.
definitely.
Now I
part of
feel like
it.
I need to look that up because if he wrote a song specifically for Jason Voorhees,
It's a bop.
I think it's called Behind the Mask.
he's wait. There's a movie called Behind the Mask. We've done it on this show, and it was quite good.
That's true.
Yeah, that was we did that one for the Lost Pages month, and I've thought about it a lot since, and I'm like, it's really a shame that they never did do a sequel to that, and they probably should get on that now.
Yeah.
Seems like something they could do really cheaply.
There's a comic book sequel to it, but that's about it. I also wanted to point out that I kind of glossed over the way that Court dies, and just he takes a Bowie knife to the side of the head, which is pretty
Isn't that
brutal.
how Tommy kills Jason in the other movie?
Tommy
Doesn't he
uses
do-
his own machete to
He
yeah, he kills
axes
him with
him,
a machete.
like that's why he's got that sliver on his mask.
Is it like on top though, not half? Got it.
He
Understood.
hits
Haven't
him and
seen
then
it.
his
I was
mask-
just trying to do
mask
research,
falls
so.
off. Yeah. He goes crazy, and he also like he goes crazy to the point that at the end of that movie, actually maybe I won't tell you because you want to watch it, right? Because that is actually kind of a shocking moment, like in all the Jason movies. There's not a lot of
Okay.
like, oh my god moments in Jason movies, but that one is one. So maybe I should just
Mm-hmm.
leave you to your own devices.
Okay. I
Let you
appreciate
watch
it.
it on
Thank
your
you.
own. Yeah. I didn't feel
Yeah.
any remorse for spoiling the paramedic reveal at the end of Jason 5 because it's the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
That movie sucks.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's got hard like token black people in it too, in like a not great way, which I thought was a choice.
That's what, 85,
Yeah.
I think.
And the tokenism in there is not very sensitive. And the only good thing about that movie is that I think that's where I adopted calling people dildos. I think that's where I heard that one time in that movie, and I was like, well, that's what I'm going to call people that I think are being dumb now. You stupid dildo. You
That's a
big
classic
dildo.
Stevenism.
I do say it all the time.
If I had $1 for every time old Steve's called me a dildo, I'd be able to
I
get
say
us some
dildo and
AdSense
pervert
for
a
this
lot.
podcast. Yeah.
Dildo and
Call me a pervert a lot.
Well, you say perverted things a lot. What am I supposed
Well,
to
I
do?
think it's funny to say perverted things.
Well, I think it's funny to call somebody a pervert.
Jail.
It's hilarious.
That's why we're best friends.
It's like peanut butter and chocolate.
You got pervert in my my
Oh God! Wait, what?
Yeah, I don't want to continue that one. Yeah.
okay. So the cops start finding Jason's reign of terror. They automatically think it's Tommy, which honestly, pretty good guess. But also we get that bit where like Tommy and Megan are like horny for each other, especially Megan being horny for Tommy.
For no
Oh.
reason. I don't get it.
I don't know why she's so horny for him.
Because
Like,
he's a criminal and she's the
but he's a
daughter of
good-looking
the
guy.
sheriff. And
I have
he's
a
out-
feeling, yeah, it's like maybe some daddy issue stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like revenge, get back
Absolutely.
at dad, get with the criminal. Criminal.
Also, he's like
What?
pretty handsome.
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
Sorry. At 46 minutes and 20 seconds,
Okay.
she says Friday the 13th.
Also known as 90% of the movie's runtime.
Right.
This is a short one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My finger was already on the button.
Was
Your
it me?
thoughts?
Sorry, I feel like I'm lagging on you guys.
You are
internet's being
lagging
weird.
slightly, yeah, but
Also, my thoughts are lagging. I
Uh-oh.
don't know what's happening. Ugh.
No,
Technology.
your
Um,
video is lagging.
Wait,
but
sorry. So,
No, there's a lag, Jason. There's a real
Yeah, I
lag
see
going
that.
okay,
on.
wait.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hold on. Wait, if I do this just for a hot second, can you like hear me okay?
We can hear you, but you're
Well,
still
we
lagging.
can
You're
hear
not
you,
hearing.
yeah.
You're hearing us later and answering us later. So
No? Maybe?
2, 1, go.
Dang it. Okay.
See,
I might try to come back in.
I've got.
Yeah,
it.
pop out and pop
so
back in.
lagged. So lagged. Okay. Okay, bye.
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 I was surprised that that countdown was exact.
It was perfect.
Like,
It was perfect.
bing.
Nailed it.
Oh man. Ah.
It's weird that we're having like in internet issues tonight. Is Hurricane fucking Milton gonna somehow hit Toronto?
I did last night. I went on my balcony and I poured some lamb's blood into a wooden bowl and lit it on fire. And I said, "Fuck you, Milton." So maybe could be.
Just on that same note, like Halifax typically gets hit with big hurricanes because they just go up the coast.
Mhm.
But if you looked at the trajectory of both of the hurricanes, Milton and Helene, they're going like they're not doing the regular trajectory.
Well, that's because they've been created by the American government to target red states only.
to destroy the red states and go up because of cloud seeding.
Yeah.
How are we doing, Cass?
I don't know. I hope better.
Well, it sounds like you're not as delayed as you were.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
we'll see what happens.
I'm still I couldn't believe, like, I was like, I think this is how long the delay is, and I counted it down with my fingers, and then as I hit 1, you went, "Oh man." Oh, she's gone again. Everyone's gone.
Your video.
Yeah, I think it's getting worse. I'm gonna see. Huh?
Have you
You know
tried
what?
restarting-
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna figure out tech stuff. I might log in on my phone and just do it that way. Fancy.
Okay. Also,
Yeah,
just
sure.
try restarting
If
your
you can hear
computer.
me.
That might work.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
The irony is that her sound was better. Your sound's better, Cass, this time. But you know, technology is a fickle
Fickle
Hellcat.
motherfucker.
Fickle motherfucker. You know, interestingly enough, Steve, remember how your internet would always drop like 4 minutes into the show every single week? That doesn't seem to just happen anymore, which is pretty good.
I got a new router. Yeah. There was also a time there where I would restart my internet right before joining.
Right before
the show. Yeah. Just to like be sure of it. The thing that happened today was my computer crashed. It wasn't even like an internet thing. It was because I had my editing software open for my computer. I had the Photoshop open for the thumbnails that I was doing earlier. I also had my Audacity open with like fucking 15 audio clips. And I was like, oh, that's probably why that happened.
I like that you just use Audacity to record.
I used to use something that cost money, and then I realized that I could produce the same level quality stuff without having to pay hundreds of dollars a year. But that just comes with learning the software, right? There are things that it would be much easier and faster for me if I used the cloud or whatever, but I don't need it. I don't need to pay $1,200 a year to do the things that I'm doing. So,
well, I mean, $1,200 a year is a lot of money when you're trying to etch out a voice acting career.
Yeah, that's why I don't pay it anymore.
The difference between eating and not eating.
Yeah. But yeah.
Have you ever read
Audacity is good. If anyone tells you otherwise, they are pompous, or they're rich, or they have a job that pays for it for them. You can do everything you need in there. And
have you ever read Men at Play magazine?
Can you say that again?
Have you ever read
Yes.
Men at Play?
Oh, Men
magazine?
at Play. Okay, I thought you were like Mana Play magazine. I was like, what is
Mana Play magazine?
What is Mana Play magazine? Is that some sort of weird Final Fantasy magazine? Mana Play.
That's funny you say that, because that would be what a magazine in the Final Fantasy universe would be called. But there was that little weird moment where they cut to one of the girls reading a magazine, and it's just called Men at Play magazine.
Oh, I wonder if it's like a gay magazine. Did you look
I
it
think
up?
it was just like, men of the era at play. I don't think it's a real thing. It's probably going to be like Friday the 13th.
Men at Play, New York City, a lifestyle brand magazine that talks about the rich history and unique style of inherently sexy vibe of Fire Island Pines.
Ooh.
Don't know what that is.
You're going to add yourself to the stage.
Hey.
There, it's Cass. She's back. Hello.
Hi. Am I do I look weird sideways? Am I good?
You're
Okay,
good,
I'm on my phone. I don't know. My sound quality is probably just plummeted, but here we are.
It's not as good as it was, but it's fine.
Okay, yay! Hello.
Welcome
Mark
back.
Little did a whole episode from his phone, and it was fine.
Okay.
He did. He did indeed.
And I only knew it was his phone because he walked across the room holding us, and then put us down, and then was like, "I gotta go." I was like,
Amazing.
okay. Right. Cass, have you ever heard of Men at Play magazine?
No, I don't think I want to, based off of the laugh.
It's the magazine that one of the girls is reading at one
Oh.
point. I thought it was funny.
I have not.
She gets her. So after that, she wanders outside to see what all the commotion is. She thinks that it's Court. She thinks it's Court, the guy with the ripped jeans, and she gets nabbed out of her slippers and has her head twisted off for her trouble.
I also like that she lost her slippers and then her head. That was lovely.
Yeah. And then the
Both gotta
reaction,
go.
the other girls in the bed, like, oh, you silly girl, you're out there necking with your bow, and she's dead.
Yep.
She's dead as hell.
Yeah, I liked her death too. I feel like this was one of the deaths in the movie where I was like, ooh, okay, that felt like a horror movie death. I feel like a lot of the deaths that we see in this movie aren't like really a thing. Almost like it's like a TV movie-esque where they're like, oh, we kind of have to keep this in the PG-13 realm. But that one was nice, of like the full twist head.
This is
Nice.
also the point of the movie where Jason starts doing his Jason stalking again. He's not just trying to put up numbers.
He's got his
actually
comfort
back
zone,
to
right?
camp. Yeah.
Yeah, he's back to his home turf. He gets +2 stalker points when he's on the campgrounds. Did you guys think about how shitty the name of the camp is now? It's such a terrible name now.
Yeah.
Camp
Crystal Lake
Forest.
is iconic. Yeah.
It
Camp
doesn't sound
Wilson?
good though. It's not a good name for a camp. It's a terrible name. They're like, I don't know. They're like, but it was so good. Look how crystal clear this lake is. And like, we can't call it that anymore. What are we gonna
Also,
call it? And some guy's like looking around. He's like, Camp Green Forest. I don't know. Fuck. And they're like,
Also, the
slap
lake
it
is
on the
not that
sign.
crystal clear. It's really not.
I know, but it's a beautiful name.
That's true.
It's
Better
super
than
murky.
There's
Forest
also the
Green.
Crystal Lakes in Ontario. I don't know if you guys have ever been to them.
We should go camping there.
Cha, cha, cha.
Cha 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 cha.
Just the mask. Jim Carrey shows up.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna say cha cha cha, then you have to do the cha cha while you do it. Cha
True.
cha cha. My name is Cuban Pete. Cha cha cha.
Somebody
Probably.
stop me.
Somebody
the little-
smoking.
The little girl sees Jason. Which I thought was-
Nancy.
Yeah,
Poor thing.
and this is where I wondered if Jason doesn't kill kids. But then flash over to Megan and Tommy have commandeered a vehicle.
Well,
And
I
they're
wanna
racing to
say-
stop.
I want to say
They're racing to like.
Is this thing on? I want to say, I just want to say, like, until I think Freddy versus Jason, it's always assumed that Freddy Krueger died, or not Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees died of negligence via the camp counselors. That's why he's so vengeful towards them, right?
Yes, because of that like incredibly lewd, ridiculous scene of all the camp counselors basically having an orgy while he's watching.
No. I think you're missing what I'm saying.
Drowning.
You're jumping to what I'm saying that is the reason that it changed things. I think that the reason that Jason wouldn't kill children in this movie is because he has no reason to kill children in this movie because they're not the ones that caused his death. Whereas in the Freddy versus Jason movie, the kids grab his weird shaped head ass and throw him in the water and he's drowning and he dies. And I'm
He's like, I should have killed the kids the first time.
so if that's the reality, you would think that Jason would just burst into that room and immediately start like hucking kids through other kids, and like grab a kid by the leg and throw him in the fireplace. Yeah, like he would have.
Oh, I want to see that. They should do like
I was just
I
gonna
think they could
say.
only do it in cartoon mode, maybe, which would also be very
That's
funny.
yeah, like if it cut to or puppets.
Oh, good. Yeah, I would watch that.
Yeah. World Mind is playing Dead by Daylight. That was the movie I was trying to the game I was trying to conjure.
This is like another. Yeah, I don't have any people to play that game with other than strangers that I've played.
I've
with
got
before.
it. I'd play it. Well, I didn't mean to do that. I thought it was off camera.
Yeah, but the difference between you and Worldmind is that Worldmind is on his Xbox every fucking day, so I can just jump into a game with him. Whereas you, I have to like pencil you in for Sunday evening.
I have
Jason?
I have to resub to Game Pass.
Right. I mean, that's fair. If you don't have Game Pass, that's fair. It's just like anytime I play games with you, it's like we have to schedule a block of time at like Saturday night at 11 p.m. You're like, you want to play then? I'm like, what the? I don't know. Maybe.
I'm very particular.
I might be playing something else at that point. I don't know.
I will say though that the quarry thing that we were talking about is a good idea, and I have recently stopped playing Final Fantasy 14. I'm not going to resub because the expansion is boring as fuck.
We had an intervention for Jason last week. We're like, Jason, you've been playing too much Final Fantasy 14. The game's 15 years old now. It's older than the number of Final Fantasies there are.
Just let go, Jason. It's okay.
When I first met Jason, he was trying to get me to play Final Fantasy 14. And he's like, "I'll give you 1 million gil." Like,
that's true. I offered that. I offered him.
Was that an actual good deal, Jason? Or were you...
Now, still like 1 million gil. It's a lot of money. I have 8.3 million and counting. And
he was like, it felt like a weird situation where some guy that I don't really know that well is offering me to play an MMO with him. He's like, I'll buy you waterfront property. I'll get you gil out the ass over here. You want magical encrypted boots? I'll get them for you.
I'll give you $250 to hang out with me.
Yeah. And I never did.
It's
I never
listen. I usually like these expansion packs, but this one is just like dragging and dragging. And there's other games I want to play. Like I want to play that Star Wars, the Jedi Survivor one. I want to play that.
Well, yeah, that game's good.
I know. Anyway, car chase and explosion. We have a movie. Is a note that I made because that's an old...
yeah. We were talking about how like he sees the kid through the window. I wanted to say like up into this moment, I think the most impressive shot for me is like the above the bathroom shot where he's like, it's always cool when they do like a top down view camera shot of a very small room and people fighting in it. It's always it's like, I want to say vascular, even though that's not a really great word to say it, but like, it is like when a muscle is showing and there's a vein in it, the vein is always like more impressive than the muscle itself. And I'm like, that's kind of what I feel about those types of shots, but there's not a lot of that going on in this movie. There's not a lot of shots where I'm like, wow, what a great shot. But there is one moment where I'm like, that could have been a great shot if they
I'll be right back.
If they could chill the fuck out for a second. And it's the moment where whatever her name is, the camp counselor who's the kind of the boring one or whatever. The one who's like
that's always in pajamas, and she's like, "It's okay, just pray the scary away."
Let me just put this machete over here, and we'll get you back to bed or whatever. That one, yeah. And there's a moment where like she's walking, and Jason is walking outside, and he almost is like in her reflection. So like if you were walking, you would see your reflection, and you would think it was your reflection as you're walking. And they're doing a really good job of that, but they keep cutting to Jason before you let it settle on what's going on. And that could be like a really unsettling and creepy shot in a regular horror movie, but they don't let it grow, you know? Like you're like, it ended up being more disappointed by the shot than being like, oh, that's a cool shot. Because I'm like, it has so much potential to be a cool shot, but they're fucking squandering it. It's dumb.
I totally agree with you. I think with that shot too, it was like, it went not slow enough. Like it was too quick where I was just looking at it being like, oh, that looks cool. But then the girl just ended up looking really confused and just looking around for no reason. Like it didn't really have the effect of like, oh, I feel watched or anything. She's just like, I tucked the kid in and everything's fine. And now I'm just looking around like this for no reason whatsoever.
I was wondering like maybe they were trying to do it and it wasn't working, like in editing or something. They're like, I'm sorry, it's not working, because there are these big sort of slatted, they're like these big windows where when they're walking, you can see both her and him in frame at the same time walking across the window. And then there's these big sort of like wooden, like the parts of the walls that break up the windows, where like you'd think she would, in the direction, you make her stop there, and then she's looking around and she doesn't see him because he's on the other side of the wood. And then it moves forward again, and then he comes out again. Like, I'm just like, that's how I would think to do it, as like in terms of shooting. Who knows though? I don't know. We need to get Tom Holland on the line, or whatever his name was Tom McLoughlin.
Let's call up Tom Holland too, just for fun.
Tom, what do you
Say
think?
hi.
A good measure.
Well, you know, never actually seen a Friday the 13th movie.
I had to,
That's your Tom Holland. It's good. It's really
Friday the
believable.
13th movie over here. I had to
Governor?
hop off for a second because you can kind of see the northern lights from my balcony tonight.
Oh, that's why you ran off tonight.
Which
That's
doesn't make any
fun.
fucking sense. They're also red and not green, and you can also only see them
'cause it's
through the
spooky
lens
month.
of a phone. You
Oh.
can barely see them because of the light pollution, but if you hold a phone up, you can.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
why I
cool.
rushed
Also,
off.
kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's
But
the end
fun.
of days. It's
Mhm.
we're all gonna die. Jason's gonna come through the ceiling and stab our heads off.
Thanks for the reminder,
Jason
Jason.
can-
I appreciate it.
Jason continues his rampage at the camp, killing more counselors. Tommy and Megan race to stop him before he can harm anybody else. And all of the sexual innuendos that happen while so they pull up, the police are there, they're like, who's in the car with you? She's already told Jason to get down. She makes a bunch of innuendos because he's like face to face with her vagina. And
This is
Also,
another
that
example of when they
scene-
keep.
Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead. You go.
I was gonna say this is another example of where they keep like having the character say something and then it cuts to another character and it's like it's
Yes.
almost like they're responding or whatever. And I'm like, shut. But then she's like, this is gonna be a real hairy turn. And then she like, and he's like, I love hairy turns, and his face like goes into her vagina or whatever. You're like, oh god,
Full
what's
crotch
going
shot.
on? Yeah.
I was like, as
It-
I was watching that scene, I just kept thinking of the fact that like this isn't really happening. These actors are just in a car, that's not moving, and he's just rolling around on her lap. And I'm like, oh, that would be a bad day on set. I would not want to.
And yeah,
the
it's-
really weird shot of his point of view was like, why did you put that in there?
where it's looking
Also,
at like,
why do
her
we need it
crotch or whatever.
twice?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
looking at her jeans.
Which
in
is
the
like,
crotchal
you know,
region.
that makes sense if it's a dude, because a dude has a dick and the bulge would be, you'd be able to like make out the grooves and
Yeah.
contours of a man's penis and balls. But a
It was
woman
like-
is just like nothing. There's like nothing
It's
there.
It's just
You know, it would have been
pants.
great if she had a big dick and balls and he was like, what?
Plot twist.
That would have
There
made
you
the movie
go.
more interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a fun fact. The film was heavily censored to reduce the gore, which is why many kills are relatively
Oh.
bloodless compared to the early Final Fantasy movies. And
Ah,
that's
the Final
true.
Fantasy movies, yes, those ones.
Friday the 13th movies. Sorry, I got Final Fantasy on.
Oh
the brain.
wow.
I'll pay you 1 million gil to sucky sucky motherfucky.
Sucky, motherfucky.
Well,
like
how
Tom
is
Holland
me?
as a-
Cut version.
Hello.
I'm
Hip,
going to
hip.
be in the next Spider-Man movie.
I'm Spider-Man 4.
Me Uncle Ben's dead. Again. He's always dead, me
Again.
Uncle Ben. Fiddly diddly doo.
I'm sorry, Tom Holland, if you ever see this. I'm so sorry.
I know that he doesn't sound like that.
But he kind
Oh.
of does. That's the thing that I love about it.
If you squint your ears.
Squint your
Just
ears,
squint
and
your
then
ears.
this is going to be a great impression.
On
Oi,
the
Mary
t-shirt.
Jane, let's give a smooch on the Empire States Building.
That's it. That's perfect.
Can you make a shirt of Tom Holland saying "squint your ears"? A
I would buy
drawing of
it.
that to put on a shirt. Yeah.
Squint your
We got a
ears.
bloody machete misdirect, and a little girl is now involved. Don't know what that line really means. Tommy
that-
devises a. Oh, that's later in the movie. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I thought, is that just the moment where like she literally just brings a machete to the counselor and is like, here you go. It's all
Yes.
bejeweled.
I call it the
Yes.
jelly machete because it's full of raspberry jam.
That's what it looks like.
Yum.
Yeah. So we finally get a moment where the sheriff gets Tommy again and murders are happening, but the sheriff is like, you know what? I'm not going to do any police work. Obviously, you go back to prison. And it's like Tommy's was with me the whole time at that time. It's like, no, I'm a diphead.
He's still going to jail. I mean, he is still technically an escaped convict from an insane asylum. So like,
but I guess they would just send him back to the asylum though, right? Like they wouldn't like,
yeah,
but
they
sense to
they
just
need to
arrest
make
him.
sure, he could be killing people. I get why they're. I feel like in most of the unreasonable horror sheriffs, this sheriff in this movie isn't being that unreasonable at all, except for when he first pulls his gun out when the guy walks in the room. That's like the only thing where I'm like, maybe don't do that.
There's a very good case to be made for the fact that copycat killers already exist in this universe. So the fact that Tommy Jarvis has escaped from a mental asylum and is now trying to find the killer. Also, I just want to, as an aside, I thought that the nerdy guy and the people playing paintball, when they first show like one of them, I thought we were going to have another Jason killer, like a Jason hunter.
Right.
Obviously, that's not what it turns out to be. But
I mean, we've had multiple in the past, so I can't fault you for thinking that another Jason Hunter would show up, and that would be kind of cool. Remember, like the other ones from the other movies that just like he killed my sister back in '82 or whatever. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to a whole posse of Jason Hunters showing up. I mean, but how would they know, really? Because Jason's been dead in the ground for 10 years at this point.
I've also been promised that Tommy Jarvis is a Jason Hunter, and that this is kind of him being the Jason Hunter.
He is a Jason Hunter. He's literally hunting him in this movie.
Is Cass back on her computer?
You gotta,
situation?
Jason, you have the option to add her to the stage too.
Hello.
Hello.
I figured I'd try my computer again.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Why not both have two angles? Whoa!
Good. Like full streamer style.
Spit everywhere. Holy shit.
Gross.
I made myself laugh and I spit everywhere like a freaking idiot.
We get a nice little moment where the little girl's afraid, and one of the counselors who isn't dead yet basically says, when I'm scared, I close my eyes and I say a little prayer. But Jason is right outside the window, and we get an excellent shot of that.
That was a good shot.
It just adds so much suspense to like somebody standing here with Jason walking across the background, and the kid's just like, I can see Jason right now.
Yeah. I did like when she stood up as well, and he's just outside the window. Mm-hmm. But I also, like I've mentioned already on this podcast that I worked with kids for like 5 years. So like I kind of like I have a good sort of nose for really shitty child acting based on like how old a kid is, where I'm like, this kid is probably like 11, right? Like she's probably like 10 or 11 years old, but she's acting like she's 5, and it's so annoying. Where I'm like, this is the most annoying. Like, I get it's easier to cast an older child because you can probably give them direction easier or whatever, but like, it's not like, it makes her seem stupid, and she's doing that kind of like it's like the thing, Jason, what you were talking about. It's like I would just like talk to kids like they're adults. It's like this kid wouldn't be talking like this, even in 1986. She wouldn't be acting like a cartoon character.
Even like when she's kind of like shaking and scared the first time she wakes up from a nightmare, and she's like literally shaking. I'm like, somebody told you to do that, and that's not real.
And she's like it's like she's trying to figure out a way to shake her body so that the camera can pick it up, and it's like, no, you don't need to. You don't need to like chatter like a cartoon, like a in like the Flintstones or something, when like one of the dinosaurs is scared and they're like just like biting their fingernails and like it's
a living.
It's a little bit too much, But
we
everything is so cartoony, so I guess we can forgive it. But it hurts, especially when you got some other kid who's like, "This camp fucking sucks. Why the fuck are we here over here?" And you're like, "Oh man, this kid's keeping it real."
But the juxtaposition between that bit and then the next kill is that camp counselor hears the sound outside and goes out, and we get the most plotting, like suspenseful kill of the whole movie. and then one of the most brutal kills of the whole movie, where you just hear her being stabbed, and then like blood splatter on the window, and then smashed through the window, and then pulled back in. Like that felt like old
That was
school.
good.
Yeah, that felt like old school Friday the 13th.
Sorry, Jason, I don't know if you answered my question earlier because I was kind of hopping between devices. But did they end up doing a director's cut of this movie that like has all the extra blood and guts and gore that I love of my horror movies?
I don't think so. I think that this movie was this movie was meant to be funnier and more like lighthearted to a degree, and I don't think there's like a director's cut, because they didn't really make like the unrated only DVD version back in the 80s like they do now. Like for instance, when we watched Megan, me and Steve watched two different versions of Megan. I watched the PG-13 version where there was like not a lot of blood, and then Steve's talking about while we're covering the movie the fact that most of the scenes that I saw that didn't have a lot of blood were just like splatter fests.
So,
and I wish there was a version of that.
There's actually the opposite in this, where he kind of went in with the idea of being like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be funny and fun. And like, that's what I want. And there's actually stuff in the movie that is harder than what he wanted to have happen. So, you know, when she gets her head twisted off or whatever, that wasn't, he was like, no, originally she was just going to get pulled out the window, and then you find her head later. Like they'll find her head later on, but
which they do, right?
Which they do.
The studio was like, no, we need to see that. There's not enough stuff going on. We need more.
I like that call. That was a good call for me.
From the studio? Whoa, are you some kind of studio shill cast? What the heck? Taking the
me? Nah.
Well, they set it up, like we'll get to it in a minute when we get to it, but Megan gets that final girl thing that happens in the Halloween franchise and the Friday the 13th franchise specifically, where you have the final girl going through and seeing all the kills one after another, like all the results of the kills, which I thought was great. And this movie takes a real tone turn literally around the RV segment, where it goes from like hilarious to now he's back in the camp plotting. And this sequence was the most Friday the 13th thing of the whole movie. And then Tommy ends up back in jail.
Ridiculous.
They literally play. She's drawing a dumb picture. Megan's drawing a picture, and they off camera have devised a plan clearly, because he's like, that picture sucks, and she like holds the art pad up, and he swipes it over her hand, and he gets it, and she goes over to grab it, and they start making out, and the stupid like deputy cop who
that's how you get me to make out with you. If you tell me a drawing I did sucks, I'll immediately be like, you better kiss me.
You better kiss me.
Immediately.
Yeah.
We forgot to talk about the fact that there's this revolver that's in the movie, kind of like a Chekhov's gun situation. Early they introduce it. That's when he's like, I'm gonna splatter this room with your brains, but it's a revolver with a mail order like sight and slash like reticle dot, like red dot, and that comes back into play here when she manages to get the gun from him.
Can we talk about how big it is? That laser sight is like crazy. It's so big. I think what
that would not fit in a holster, like not standard issue.
This was probably not a real laser sight like as they exist now. This was probably like a red light that they were like, well, we can figure out a way to make it focused. We just have to put a tiny reticle on the end. So they probably got like a flashlight and put like a big tube on the end of it to make it turn into that's what it seemed like to me. Like that's bigger than the gun.
The closest thing in reality that they had was like a hunting rifle that had a sight that is that big. But the idea of a laser sight was probably relatively
for a hunting rifle, different from like a pistol.
Yeah.
Well, where the dot goes, a slot goes in your head or something. I can't remember what the saying is. They make like what was it? It was
wherever the dot goes, the bang.
Yeah. the pow, the blam, the blam, or something. Yeah, it's something crazy like. Is it the bang?
I think so. That's what I heard, and that's what I wrote down in my notes. And I was like, that is an insane thing to say.
I wrote down in my notes, what the dot strikes? Yikes!
I like that better.
I didn't write notes. I just made that up right now.
This is also
It's
the
good.
segment where we
Improv.
find out the fact that Tommy just knows that the only way to get rid of Jason ultimately, like as if all of this was his plan to begin with. The only way to kill Jason is to return him to his original resting place, which is like the middle of Camp Crystal Lake. It's like, how does he know that? Also, you accidentally you summoned him from a grave where he was secure.
Mm-hmm. Well, now
It's
he's got to
insanity.
undo what he did.
Well, he's been watching
You know?
the Friday the 13th movies while in the loony bin. He's been creating them in his own mind, so he knows the lore.
Yeah,
knows
so
that-
he
From
Well, they
whence
also had
he
that whole
came.
scene too of him like in his car. What? Am I lagging again? It might be me.
I think
I
you
don't
might be
know.
lagging a little bit. Yeah.
Hello. No. Okay. Well, I will say there was a whole scene of Tommy in the car where he like got all the books, and one of them was like, "Oh my god, I wrote it down because Chad said it in a funny way." It was a manual of occultism, and I was watching it with my partner last night, and he was like, totally thought that just said manual of communism, and I was like, communism is going to take down Jason Voorhees. But I'm assuming he was reading books
be right back.
on the occult. Found some.
Communism
Okay,
would
bye.
take down Jason Voorhees.
That's all you need.
Yeah, socialism is going to create a lot of Jason Voorheeses if we don't stop it. But if we, wait, is it the implication that it would destroy him? Then maybe we need communism to destroy
I
him.
don't know. Chad just couldn't read yesterday.
I see. Well, Jason's gone. There is a
Delightful.
deleted scene from this movie that has an implication that a man paid off the city or whatever from cremating his body. So the reason that he was never cremated was that someone paid off his body. This character is from other movies, I believe. But reading this, I'm like, I don't think that would be a great idea, because I think that one of the best parts about Jason is he's not really bound to anything except for his dead mother's ghost, like egging him on, being like,
They're making fun of you, Jason. They called you a big fat fucking loser with a weird head, Jason.
and like, that's why he kills people, which is a good enough reason, I guess, if you're a zombie.
I mean, I haven't seen that part, so.
Well, she never says that, but that's what I say when I'm playing the game. I'm like,
Jason, kill them, Jason.
because they don't even really go back into that much, because they don't really go back into Jason's head much ever. He's always just sort of an imposing figure that's there, and moving through the woods and destroying everything in his way. But in the game, when you play as Jason, like the first thing you hear is like,
Jason, they're here. They're here, Jason. You have to frickin' kill them, Jason.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
Over here. They're laughing at you, Jason. You have a teeny tiny penis, Jason. Ooh, look how teeny tiny it is.
It is important to note.
I love that you had all of that just ready to go.
It is important to note that Jason is like a disfigured, like kind of a freak, and his mom does try to protect him.
We welcome freaks on this show. This is the freak.
It's true.
Club.
Gather
We
around,
welcome them
freaks.
at the beginning. We say gather around.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah,
but that is sort of like the conceit of Jason's whole shtick. It's not really explained until Freddy versus Jason ultimately. I know that it like the perception is that Jason's mom is mad at the camp counselors in like the first movie, and then he going forward for the next two movies, it's like Jason like sort of getting revenge for that, but it's never really explained outright. And then when you get to the sixth one, Jason just wants to fucking kill in really interesting different ways.
Not to spoil, but in the seventh movie and the eighth movie, they get real deep into weird shit starts happening. Like there's like Jason is not the only supernatural figure.
Do not spoil any of these movies for me, please.
There's a ghost, Jason. His name's Spooky McPooky.
I know that Jason Goes to Hell is like a weird thing in it.
Jason Goes to Hell. I'm not even talking about that yet. Jason Goes
like
to Hell
9.
I'm talking about 7 and 8. Get a little bit funky because I guess because they're like, well, he's a zombie.
Isn't
now,
there like
so
a Kerry
let's add
moment?
Other shit. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into spoiler territory over here, but maybe.
I just saw the trailer and I was like, that's Kerry for sure. For sure.
Yeah. They do start to get wild, which is I think when people started to be like, well, let's have him go up against Freddy. I think that's when the Freddy Krueger crossover really started to come into play, where they're like, wait a minute, what if all these supernatural characters all exist in the same fucking world? The original MCU, it would have been all of them, man. That was one thing that like one thing that would have blown my fucking brain out the back of my head watching Freddy versus Jason is if like during the final fight you just heard like a what the hell is this, and like the camera pans over and it's Chucky and he's like I must have took a wrong turn over here.
We talked about that at length last week, in fact, where we had a bunch of crossovers. I want to move forward the plot a little bit because we have a situation where Jason's about to kill the kid, but he doesn't. But it's kind of like, does he not kill kids? Or does he just get spooked because the police are now involved? And this last section of him stalking the police feels a lot more like the traditional Jason, like what I was always sort of alluding to. And the cop is going to die, but the kid jump scares out of the bushes. And that actually jump scared me. I actually went, whoa. And the cop unloads like 5 rounds into Jason, including a fucking shotgun blast because he's rolling around with a shotgun at that point.
Yeah.
And
the
Jason
shotgun is effective.
Yeah.
Yes, he keeps shooting him, and Jason keeps doing the Undertaker sit up, and then he gets him again. He so in a video game,
I do like that
that's how you slow down the. There's certain monsters in like Resident Evil that if you can get them to like go down. Use
the actual Jason video game as an example if we want to.
Yes.
So you cannot kill Jason with a shotgun, but it does buy you valuable time, like very valuable time, because you can shoot him to the point that he falls over like a plank of wood, and then he does the like he does the sit up. But if you can jump into a window and then, kind of like deke duck around and go through another window, he won't be able to get you for a little bit longer. And these types of moments like make me appreciate the gameplay even more, where it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly how it is. Like if you shoot him with a pistol or like anything normal, he's just going to be like, get the fuck out of here, and then rip your head off or punch your heart out or whatever, like, break your legs behind your arms. If you hit him with a shotgun or you hit him with like a flare gun right in the face, they'll go down for a minute. And it gives you the time you need to get away.
Oh,
2 casses. Oh,
yeah, I'm switching over because
why do you look so different in the two? Those are 2 different people.
I'm right here. It's a different angle. Stop. My lighting's also very different.
Your background is throwing me off because it's like, oh, she's in a forest in that one, but now it's like twin
it's actually
sisters.
Just my twin. Yeah. Sorry, I'm here. I was lagging a whole bunch, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupting you guys by accident.
No, it was fine. I appreciate that you're not just like, fuck this, I'm out. Okay, well, I guess Cass is like, fuck this, I'm out. Jason crushes his head for his efforts. Just fucking We get the kids rounded up. The sheriff is actually doing okay until he meets Jason. And the deputy was the one that gets his head crushed.
Yeah. That was
This
good.
is making me want to play the Jason video game so badly. But anyway, I might even try after this.
Right. So the shotgun is effective. Tommy and Megan show up. Jason is stalking. Megan, this is the scene I was talking about earlier where Megan's going through and she's fighting all the carnage that Jason has left in his wake. And the sheriff's death is actually, he gets folded backwards, which I think is such a... So my favorite Jason kill, there's two of them. It's the smacking somebody inside of a sleeping bag against a tree. And then also in Freddy versus Jason, I think he folds somebody backwards in a cot.
The bed. It's like a full queen size.
It's just a full queen size bed. Yeah. I thought it was a cot in my head because of how ridiculous it is. But I think that might be paying homage to this kill because he's just like struggling on the ground to like try to do something to Jason. And Jason just goes, nope, backwards fold. Great stuff.
Felt good.
I meant to say yes, not bad.
Bat.
It's okay to laugh at everything I do.
Chucky's a really good like companion to have on this show. He finds it. But Tommy's plan is essentially trap Jason by chaining him to a boulder at the bottom of the lake, where Jason originally drowned as a child. And Tommy gets the boat with the rock and chain.
He creates a slip knot out of a chain.
Out of a chain.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Like he does that fast.
That's where he's like, okay, give me the chain. Now we're gonna put it around the rock. And okay, now go back to the cat. I'm like, why does his voice sound crazy?
Why you talk like that, man?
Yeah. Also, he does the voice of Tommy in the video game, and also his likeness is the Tommy Jarvis. Because when in the game, you can find a radio, and you can be like, "Help! If anyone's out there, Jason's here. He's gonna kill us." And then if the first person who dies, it'll be like bum 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 bum, and you see a person walking in, and it pans up, and it's Tommy Jarvis, and then you come back in and play as Tommy Jarvis.
Did you notice, Steve, that Thom McLoughlin actually wrote stuff for the game? Did you see that in his IMDb?
I didn't. But that's
the Pamela, something called the Pamela tapes, which I don't know. You might.
Oh yeah, there's like a ton of you can find recordings, like little tape recordings, like cassette tapes, and then if you go into the menu and stuff, you can listen to them. I've listened to all of them, so yeah, that's pretty.
He wrote the director of this movie wrote those.
That's interesting.
I really liked the fact that he tells Megan and GTFO, get out of here, figure it out. He kind of like is confused though, because it's like, get out of here, and she runs towards Jason. He's like, not that way. But I really like the fact that Jason is like reacting to something. I think it's Megan near the house. And he keeps going back towards the house. And then Tommy's like, no, over here, you freak. And he walks back. And he walks like halfway into the water. And then he gets distracted again and goes back. It's almost like a dog.
It's because she yells again. She's like, Tommy! Fuck!
Yeah.
And then he's like, and it's like, why'd you do? I basically gave you a get out of hell free card. And you're now revoking that for yourself? I would be pissed if I was Tommy at that point. I'm like, no, you're fucking my plan up. I've made a whole slip knot out of chains attached to a boulder. But like, there's that moment where he's trying to clip it all together on the boulder. He's like, give me the padlock. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, just give me the fucking padlock.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Also, I skipped over the fact that there is that great sequence where Jason is like chasing them down to the beach. And he stops using doors. He hasn't used doors in a minute, even in part 3 and 4. But the way that he blasts through this house is he walks in through a doorway and it explodes into debris. He walks through it out the other side and he just explodes out in debris again. And that's one of my favorite things about the Friday the 13th franchise is when it's just chaos. Like there's a scene, Cass, in I think part 3 where he throws a body through like a cabin window.
That's 4.
And It's 4, yeah.
yeah.
And it just explodes into
Well, because like you think you think the door is about to explode, and then a body goes through the window, and they're like, ah, and then he explodes through the regular door.
Amazing.
Fucking great.
This is what I want to see on the screen all
yeah.
the time.
Not to keep bringing it back to the game, but like if you get to a point in the game when you're playing as Jason where the timer is getting close or the police are about to arrive, because you can call police, you can call Tommy Jarvis, all these things to make your escape easier. And Jason is trying to kill all the camp counselors throughout. But if the time gets down to a point that is detrimental for Jason, he goes into like this sort of rage mode where your abilities gain faster, but you also no longer have to chop doors down. Like up until that point, you have to chop doors down. But once you have that ability, you can just walk through the doors. So like after
unlocked.
Yeah, I think like it's after like 10 minutes of in-game play. You're like, Jason, you can't let anything get in your way. It's like, oh, not even doors? Okay, Mom, thanks for giving me permission to just fucking Kool-Aid man through these doors.
I love that.
That's a really good way to put that. Jason was the inspiration for the Kool-Aid man.
Oh,
you heard it right here.
Should we do a shirt where it's like the Kool-Aid man busting through a door and he just has a giant hockey mask on the front?
Please. I love that. You should do that immediately.
Yeah, I'm making a note. Jason hockey mask.
And it says, ooh,
Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
Stop.
Smash.
That's perfect. I love that.
That's gibberish. I'm bad at writing on the fly. Yeah, so Jason bursting through walls. Come on, maggot head. Tommy gets his attention off Megan and she survives. I was wondering if him walking into the water. So this is the point where he's walking into the water and he just keeps walking. So remember the episode of The Simpsons where Bart plays hooky and Principal Skinner is stalking him and he walks into the water. I guess there's a movie that's called like The Substitute or something from the 80s or 90s where that does happen. That's what I thought that was a reference to this whole time. But
sometimes Simpsons references are not just a singular reference when they do
right. Yes. Okay. Anyway, this was pretty much like Jason walks into the water, goes under the boat, and disappears.
And then it became a Jaws movie immediately.
Yes, it does become a Jaws movie.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also the first time. So like, again, Cass, I don't want to ruin your Jason Voorhees experience.
It's fine. I'm late to the game. I understand. It's okay.
Like, if you are to ever go up against Jason, the last place you ever want to be is on a canoe, on a boat, anywhere that
in
is
his lake,
in the water, especially in his lake. You don't want to be there because he is gonna come up at any angle that he feels comfortable and you don't. And like, he is kind of worse than Jaws because you can't see him because it's always nighttime. The lake is dirty as fuck. You can't. It's the Crystal Lake name is a lie. It's nasty.
And also, sometimes he'll fart on the other side of the boat to make bubbles and then jump scare you from behind.
The way I pictured that was that he was lying horizontally and the boat was there and he was farting up there. And then he went, ah!
Absolutely what I was thinking. I was like, it's the only way.
Okay.
Also, fun fact, those noises, that's actually just his butt. Like, those aren't coming out of his mouth. It's his butt.
Yeah.
In the film's climax, Tommy lures Jason into the lake. A brutal underwater fight ensues, and Tommy
also the fire.
Yeah, the fire.
Tommy successfully chains Jason to the boulder. Jason is left trapped, but still alive at the bottom of the lake. That's just the point I wanted to get to. My notes actually dictate Tommy has a boat and a rock and a chain. Jason bursting through walls. Come on, maggot. I said all that. Tommy gets his attention off Megan and she survives. Simpsons reference. The boat struggles because, well, a fire happens. He pours gasoline directly into the water. Tommy
he does it on purpose. He's not struggling because of that. He brought it out there to be like, burn, ring of fire. We're gonna fucking, because he probably wanted to like, I don't know what his thought process. Tommy is crazy. We have to. I'm gonna say it again.
Delulu.
Tommy is fucking insane.
Megan tries to save Tommy, but Jason gets her, and she gets the boat engine on to the wheel, the propeller of the engine onto Jason, like scrambles his brains, I guess, chops him up.
It's like right like through his neck, it looks like.
I think
or maybe
yeah. But yeah, this is also cool as well because the movies moving forward now use this as visual iconography for Jason, which is like, I'm sure you've seen other images of Jason before in your life, but there's a lot of pictures of Jason where he just has this big metal chain around his neck. And you're like, why does he have that? And it's because he just never bothered to go, like he came out and he was like, and that's just a part of him now. Like he doesn't ever decide to get rid of it. He just has a chain around his neck.
It's just memories, you know?
I have a fun fact. I love fun
CJ
facts. Graham, who plays Jason in this movie, this is before Kane Hodder, CJ Graham, who played Jason, performed most of the underwater stunts himself, adding authenticity to this final battle.
Wow, good for him. That's scary.
Did he also
a lot
do
of stunts are dangerous.
I was just wondering, like those bubbles, those were him too, right?
Yep.
That was the loudest version of that fart. Did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't. It's the same one. I mean, it's complete happenstance that both fun facts you had also worked very well into like a fart joke that was already just waiting there for me to make. Sorry.
And then the very end of this movie is Tommy and Megan escape. Jason remains chained underwater, his eyes still open, indicating that he is far from dead, even though we just saw that all that blood and viscera fly up. I wrote
Jason water was gross. It was gross.
We got the he's dead or is he ending?
Yeah.
You know?
I know how the next movie goes, but I do sometimes struggle to remember how he is reawakened after certain movies. This one, I think I do remember. So go ahead.
I read the synopsis for the next one.
Well, I don't want you to tell because I don't want to ruin it for Cass, and I also kind of like going in and being like, it's this one.
Okay. Well, I didn't read the whole synopsis, but just I know how the next movie starts and it makes sense for how this movie ends. So that's all I'll say. You'll have to wait until next May. I think May.
Wait, you read the synopsis for the next movie, but you don't want me to spoil the next movie for you?
I only read the synopsis, like one line of it.
I
was trying to figure something out when I was doing research. I was like, what's the next movie? And then the Wikipedia pops up on Google, and then I just read it. Yeah. Anyway.
Got ya.
But that is the movie. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
Jason Lives.
I just had a couple comments before we completely end. I just wanted to point out, just in this last bit with our final girl doing her thing. First of all, she's very strong, but I just really appreciated the way that she got into the water to save Tommy, because she just full belly flopped.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was on purpose or if that's just the take that they kept, but I really appreciate it. And when she does like drag Tommy out of the water and like save him, I think that's the shittiest CPR I've ever seen. Like, it was so half-assed in every way, but somehow it saved his life, and I also appreciate that. I'm like, I think maybe everybody's just tired at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it was probably like 2 a.m, and they probably got her to do like a bunch of runs down to the dock, and they're like, it's not working over here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're using the belly flop, and that's your punishment. And she's like, what? And it's like, you did it every time, lady. And she's like, I did a good dive the first take. He's like, we didn't have the camera on. What do you want from us?
Yeah.
I can't imagine like doing like a million takes for something and then somebody choosing a take that you personally think is terrible is one of the worst feelings you can ever have as a performer in any capacity.
Yeah. You're like, really, that one?
Yeah, like what the
Do you hate
heck?
me personally?
Yeah.
Like, why?
I sound
week.
like a fucking pervert in that one.
Every week.
Mhm.
Every week I do 3 hours of podcast, and it's the worst possible take you could have of me. So I know exactly what Megan was feeling.
Jason, you're
I mean,
doing
we only get-
great.
Yeah, we only get one take on this show, though, Jason. This is we should have called this one take.
Ooh, that's
a good
fun.
name. Yeah. Well, hey, did you see this one is canceled, and we're going to come back next week as one take.
One take.
Yeah, no, I assume they did multiple takes of her jumping in the water, but maybe she just didn't know how to dive, and they were like really trying. Maybe that was her best dive. Like they're like, well, I mean, that was all
Belly
right,
flop.
I guess.
It's what we got.
crap. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then she watched it and she was like, wow, I never knew I could dive like that. Like,
She's like, I think I should be.
playing Jason is like, what the heck? What's up, wearing the Jason mask?
Well, this is the new name of the show because we love a long name around here. Hey, did you see this one take?
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I can't wait till the next movie when Jason reemerges from the water and he's like,
Oh.
And then everybody else
Sorry.
is like,
oh god. It's true. Autoerotic asphyxiation. He'll have a giant erection. He got hanged. He'll have a boner. He got upside down hanged.
well, that is the film. Should we talk about a Home Alone of it all?
Oh my god.
If you had to pick one,
Well, what do you think the Home
when
Alone of it
is
all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone
I
of it
really
all
gotta
When's the
know.
Home Alone of it
When
all?
is the Home Alone
What
of it all?
is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
The idea of the Home Alone of it all comes from the idea of the movie Home Alone, where Kevin McAllister slaps down the blueprint, and all we want to see is those poor bandits, the wet bandits, get destroyed by a child through horrible traps. But that is the scene. That is the scene that we all wanted to see in that movie. So for the movie Halloween, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. What did you come here to see? Cass, you're the guest. Guests go first here on the show. What's your Home Alone of it all for Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives?
Well, seeing as I had no real expectation other than I knew that this film was a classic, and the whole iconography is classic. I think for me, there are probably multiple that come up before this, but my Home Alone of it all is after the RV flips and it's like on fire and Jason is just standing on top of it really menacingly for like way too long of a shot. That's my Home Alone of it all. And it's just immediately from there, we're in camp killing a bunch of teens. Classic.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. How about you, Steve?
Chef's fingers right there.
Ah, you got a couple of chef fingers over here. We're gonna go for it. Absolutely, when the lightning strikes that fucking fence, it's the best thing in any Jason movie. I don't think another Jason movie has topped that in terms of like amping my excitement up for the first time that I saw it. I remember seeing that and being like, oh, so he's not a mutant after all. He's a supernatural being pulled from the dirt by weather. Just regular weather got his ass up.
Yep.
And, there's something to be said that maybe that Tommy Jarvis's interactions, maybe there's some ritualistic stuff going on in terms of beheading and having shrines to his mother and all of that kind of stuff that led up to it. But I love the fact that he's just a Frankenstein's monster. Like at the end of the day, he is just a Frankenstein who like doesn't have Dr. Frankenstein to give him directions. He just has an echoing, creepy ghost voice of his mom in the back of his head saying like, kill them, Jason. They made fun of your weird large nipples, Jason. There's also hair around those nipples, Jason. Why? Kill them.
All he has is his memories, his mom, and his machete. The 3 M's.
It's true. Triple M.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that as well. For me, I really enjoyed the idea that he's going to go for high score, but my home alone of it all this week was when it gets down to him doing the actual Jason style skulking and stalking. I think that was my favorite element because they sort of did a misdirect. I thought that this was going to be like the highest count, the kill count was going to be the highest, which is probably true. This might be his highest kill count to date. But I liked it. I liked it when he was stalking around. So the RV sequence, twisting the head off the person, and then the police trying to find him. Yes, the folded backwards. That was my home alone of it all for this week.
Nice.
We've done it.
And I guess it's time to play the world's greatest game in history of gaming.
It's time to play Guess the MPAA.
Hello, people of Earth. My name is Jason. And I'm joined as always by my co-host, Steven. And
Hello, everyone. It's me, Steven, and I'm here to tell you exactly how this game works.
the rules of the game.
So we're gonna guess a 3-digit number between 000 and 999. Cass, are you ready to play? You know the rules. We don't need to go over it again with you, do we?
I've been here before and I'm stuck here now, so let's do it.
I'll be here again.
There is also a new element to this game, which I didn't tell you about beforehand, but it's quite simple.
Surprise.
You guys are going to make your regular 3 guesses, but if it comes down to it, and it will, a stalemate, I'm going to allow you to do a Price is Right style guess at the box office gross to get an additional guess.
Okay.
And that's how I've made it that we include the box office amount of money that the movie made. So up first, Cass, what's your first guess? The first 2 numbers this week are 28.
And I need 3 numbers or 2 numbers?
3 numbers.
28. 28642.
Lower, Steve.
28221.
Higher, Cass.
28386.
Steve, lower.
28354.
Cass, your final guess, lower.
Dang.
28349.
Steve,
Dang.
your final guess, lower.
330.
Now, neither of you got it correct. However, what I will say is you were all well within about 200, right?
200. You can't give me a face like that, like it's fucking right there. You're like,
well, you got pretty close on one of them. But what I will ask you now is to give me a in millions a gross box office number. Cass, you go first.
Oh God, I don't know money. Let's do 5.6 mil.
Much higher than that, Steve.
I figured.
What'd you say? 6 mil?
5.6.
5. And you said much higher? How much higher? I'm gonna say 20.
Lower. So, Cass, you actually got the additional guess this week. The first 2 digits are 28, And the realm of possibility is between 282 and 283.
Okay. Didn't you say it was higher than 2833 or 330? Did you say it was higher? Okay. I didn't know if you actually clarified with Stephen answer. Okay. 28317.
Whoa.
No.
So I'll give you a little bit of statistics. The MPAA rating this week was 28260. The budget was $3 million. The box office was 19.5 million. And this all comes from Wikipedia. You guys did a great job.
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA. Wow.
I said some numbers. I feel good about it.
Yeah, you did a good job, guys, but unfortunately we didn't get there this week.
I've only ever done it once. One day.
One
we'll do it
time.
Yeah.
One time. I've only written more opportunities for you guys, so we will get there. That said, I think it's time for us to go into our final thoughts.
It's time for our final thoughts.
That's right. Our final thoughts are now occurring. This is, of course, just a segment where we give our final thoughts on the film. And if you want to give a rating, whether it be out of 5 or out of 10, or if it's stars, or if it's nonsensical, you know the drill, Cass. What are your final thoughts for this film?
Final thoughts. I am very happy that you decided to invite me onto the show so I could finally put myself into the world of Friday the 13th. I had a great time with it for my first one to ever see and like just kind of be thrown into the silly. It was kind of fun that I didn't know all the lore when I was watching it. I was just along for the ride. I guess for me, like, I wish there was a little bit more gore. That's just me because I'm a weirdo and I love horror movies with some gore. But it was just such a delightful movie. Like literally the entire time I was just cackling and giggling because of how just absurd and silly it was. I can't compare it to the other movies because I haven't seen them yet. So I don't know if my rating would change if I watched all of them. But I'm going to give it a rating of blood splattered popcorn is not my new favorite snack.
Hey. I would like to hear your rating for 4, your rating for 2, and your rating for... No, those are the only ones.
4
those
and
are
2?
Those are the other 2 that I like, almost contending with this one. And then Freddy versus Jason, which you've seen, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
I'll do my homework and I'll give you my thoughts.
All right.
Nice.
Steve, your final thoughts for Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives.
It's fun. It's good. It's a Jason movie that you want to be a Jason movie. When you think about a Jason movie, if you think it's going to be, oh, scary, you're wrong. And that's correct. A correct assumption from the first one to the last one. They're all kind of like, okay, whatever. But this one is what you think it should be. It has a well-dressed Jason, a well-dressed set. The camera angles are all right. The music is pretty good. The acting is cartoonish in a good way. It's compelling and fun. I think that this is maybe a building block that has kind of been lost in time when it comes to like how to learn from your colleagues and your elders. And I think that they basically were like, the Jason stuff is working, but it's not working as well as it should be. Let's take a lesson from some of our neighbors, and they did, and I think it made it better. Now it also kind of set up the rest of the movies for something which I don't know if I agree with, which is a complete sort of molecular change. It doesn't mean that I don't like anything that comes after this, but I definitely don't like some of what comes after this because of this movie. So it's like, it's a good movie, but some of the stuff that comes after is trying to be this movie, and it hurts. It ends up hurting this movie. You know, when like somebody makes something that's so good and then somebody does it afterwards and it somehow like retroactively injures the thing before it. That's kind of how I feel about this movie. Whereas I don't feel that about the other movies, because at least every movie up until this point is trying to be its own weird thing, which you can say the same thing about this movie, but this is the one that infected the rest of the movies that come after it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'll say it over and over again. I like it. I like it a lot. If I was to give it anything at all, I would give it a nice, crisp Jason mask, and then I would take my scissors and I would cut a little hole to remember the time that he lost the hole up there. And then I'd throw some mud on it to be like, you got buried a little bit. And then I'd leave it in the water for a couple days, and I pull it out and be like, you know, you also were in the water that one time. And then I'd throw it in the fire and I'd forget about it. And I'd come back and I'd say, this is a good Jason mask. Thank fucking God someone thought hard enough to make this Jason mask. That's my review.
That's a good ritual to do too. I like it.
Yeah, I think so. Guys, I haven't seen him in a while. I keep just hearing him though.
I know he's around. He's underneath my table. He's
Oh God! Oh, he grabbed my balls
again.
Yeah, he keeps
Chucky. I think this might be my favorite Jason movie ever. It had everything I could ever want from a Friday the 13th. Some brutal, folded backwards, multi-kills, some interesting stalking suspense kills, and some innovative kills. Once again, folded backwards. It feels like the pinnacle Jason movie trying to do what the previous did with Tommy literally digging him up and burying him in a lake, and giving us the "or did he die" ending. I give this a solid 4 out of 5. I also give this, if this was not the highest I've given Friday the 13th, it's 0.1 higher than the highest.
I think that is the highest. I think you give the first one like a fucking 0.5 or something. You hated that first one.
No, I hate the first Halloween movie. I'm okay with the first. Yeah. But I do actually give this movie a triple head decapitation.
You know, I'm surprised I didn't really think of that. But yeah, okay. Is that the end?
That is.
Jason's like, my underwear is gone. He's like,
why's my underwear gone?
Pantsless episode, right?
Yeah. Nobody's wearing pants ever again. I do actually want to open the floor now for some plugs. So, Steve, I promised.
Right, let me just plug this in right here and.
I love that one.
I did
it's
promise.
So good.
I did. The bass of some of the electricity is so fucking palpable. Mm-hmm. I did also promise that there was going to be more electrocutions. But Cass, what do you got going on in your life? Give us a plug if you've got it. If you don't have anything to plug, just what's your message for the world?
Well, I don't have anything to plug, although I'm very excited because I'm going to be taking or partaking in the 48-hour film festival that we do here in Toronto in a couple weeks, which is going to be really fun. Hopefully we get something good, and if not, we'll end up making a good film anyway. So it's going to be a great time. Nothing else to plug at the moment. So I guess my message to the world is I hope everybody has a lovely, safe Halloween. I hope everybody does their due diligence and watches all of the horror movies they can stomach for the entire month. And don't be lame. Get dressed up and have fun. That's my message.
That's awesome. Thank you, Cass. This episode will go up tomorrow. I'll shoot you the link. Cass is on a short list of guests that has a hey, did you see this one playlist on YouTube? So if you want to go back and see Cass's episodes, you can, in a very easy to consume trajectory, right from your first episode of Ghost in the Shell right till now to Friday the 13th part 6, Jason Lives. Thank you for being on the show once again. You're always welcome back here. You're one of my go-to Rogues Gallery invites. We love having you here.
Thank you for having me and dealing with all my technical issues.
You're having one right now, but
you're having one right now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's working perfectly. Steve,
Timing.
Tell us about your Steve, tell us about your stove and what you got boiling up and cooking.
I've got a lot on the stove right now, but next month we're gonna have the video game will be released, and I will be releasing it alongside a lot of our stuff. Hopefully, if Jason allows it, that sick, twisted pervert. And I'm also just doing the last pickups for the cartoon show as well, which I haven't really brought out yet. But it's not like a funny like Rick and Morty style cartoon. It's like a cartoon for children. So, like I'll still put it out there if anybody wants to listen to it. But it's a lot of me being like, well, I'm a rock in a museum. You're like, okay, that's fun, I guess. But Star Wars Theory is still, not Star Wars Theory. Darth Theorist is. Can we delete that? I said the wrong name and I plugged someone I don't really want to plug. Darth Theorist is still growing, and we're up to like a lot each week. It's really fun. It's really good. I like it a lot, and we also are growing with the true crime stories. They've asked me now to maybe do some on-camera stuff, which I'm like, I don't know if I'm interested in that, but I'm like considering it. So, maybe we'll see. Maybe I will be the like, did you ever know that people die when they trust someone so hard that they couldn't believe they would die? They died from their own loved one. So maybe we'll see that next time.
Love it.
The Zydrate comes from a little glass vial.
A little glass vial.
A little glass vial.
It's me plugging my little glass vial into YouTube people being like, we're going to put your face on camera. Next thing I know, I'm in some sort of weird AI snuff film.
It's going to happen. Guaranteed.
Which is the natural outcome.
Yeah.
Listen, I'd like to tell you guys about a few things that I have going on. First and foremost, this podcast. Hey, did you see this one? Can be found on every single piece of I checked the podcast index. We're on there, but I also added to a few other podcast networks this week. Okay. So we're everywhere. Anywhere you could possibly think to find us, you can find us there when it comes to podcasts at this point. I made sure. It's called Hey, Did You See This One? You can find us everywhere. If you Google Hey, Did You See This One? In fact, if you Google most movies that we've done, we're like the number one search somehow. Even though we don't have like the views to back it up, they're all there. In addition to that, I'd like to just tell everybody that we're doing the Grimoire Of Familiar Killers on this show right now, which is kind of our WrestleMania. It's our tent pole month. Yes, thank you. That's it right there. Speaking of that exact image, we're on Redbubble now. If you go to Redbubble and look up, Hey, did you see this one? We have a storefront and you can get our logo on pretty much any piece of clothing, or you can print our logo on anything that you can print a logo onto at this point in the history of humanity. So go do that. We don't want your money, but if your money comes to us, we're going to spend it directly onto this show.
So also, just to note, I drew this picture, right? And I've shown it twice this episode, and throughout the episode I was like, man, I really kind of missed the mark, because like I like that they're cool looking, right? They look cool, they look scary, but would it make more sense if I did like a family photo, like they look like they went to Walmart and got a family photo?
I want both.
Should I just do both?
I want both.
Yeah, definitely do exactly that.
Like imagine Jason Voorhees' hand is on Michael Myers' shoulder, and like Chucky is like refusing.
Chucky's sitting in a lap.
Yeah, like, but he's like refusing to sit still. He's like, and Freddy's like, sit still, bitch.
Just tell me
over soon.
And Jason's like,
he's the silent dad that everybody's scared of. And then I guess Michael Myers is the silent other dad that they're married. There's the gay silent dads.
And then on top of all of that,
sorry, I'm lagging again. I want both of them, and I want them like full movie poster size, and I want to like put them in my hallway, like one right beside each other. Maybe make a third one, and then I can have a trio.
I think if I do the family photo one, I'll probably do like a full proper color, and like make the background look like one of those shitty, like, you know, those backgrounds they put it like do you want like a castle or you know, like a lake, or, you know, autumn or a spring, or, you know, just like a gray blur, perhaps. Gray blur. Everybody went for gray blur back when I was growing up.
Yeah.
No, like a wavy gray blur.
Well, because like they would have those backdrops that were like autumn, and it was just like a forest or whatever, and like nowadays that's sick, like everybody wants that, but nobody wanted that when I was growing up. My parents were like gray blur, blue blur, whatever, any kind of blur. That's all, you know. But now that's the lame thing.
In addition to all of that, I would like to let everybody know that in the month of October, every single month of the year, I am the announcer for the professional wrestling company here in Toronto called Superkicked. But in the month of October, we do a little show called Zombie Wrestling. And at Zombie Wrestling, I don't know what's going to happen. Normally I announce. Normally I say, hey, the following contest scheduled for one fall, introducing first, making their way to the ring. I do that sort of thing. But with Zombie Wrestling, I get to actually like do some acting. And the thing that's interesting is it's 3 nights this year, folks.
Oh my God.
The 25th and the 26th.
On the third night, Jesus is going to raise from beneath the ring like zombie Jesus.
The 25th and the 26th are at the new Superkicked location near Dundas West Station. That's where the new Superkicked studio is. We're doing 2 nights there, which I will be at. But I will say I will not be at the episode that happens on the 31st, which is Halloween, because right here on Hey Did You See This One, we're doing a very special 2-guest extravaganza for Halloween 6. You're going to see myself. You're going to see Steven Waters. You're going to see
Chucky and Freddy. They're coming in. We got them, boys. We got them both.
You're going to see Chucky and Freddy. You're going to see Tim Covey, and you're going to see Alex Gow. And we're doing a special extra guest 4-person. It's 4-man. It's 4-man. Episode of Hey Did You See This One on a special Halloween edition, which takes place on Thursday. And if you missed it, Hey Did You See This One happens every Thursday on Twitch and YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the next day on Friday, it goes up at about noon. At about noon on Friday, the next
noon,
day.
Y'all.
So that is, of course, our episode for this week. Cass, once again, thank you. You're welcome to come back. You're welcome to come back and have this show. You can just have it and take it over. Me and Steve will bow down to you, and you can have this show, and it can be your show. You're frozen, and you're coming in.
No,
but it's the same.
I'm so sorry.
I'll do the outro as always, but Cass, there is hold on. Grim poster. there is, of course, one question that needs to be asked. That's asked each and every week. Cass, go ahead.
I'm gonna try because my computer hates me. But hey, did you see this one?
Oh God! Oops! Whoops! What didn't mean to put that
Excuse
there.
me, I've got something
Right on
to
my
ask you.
face.
I need to ask you a question. Where am I? Who am I? Zordos demanded I tell him what happened in a movie. I've never even heard of what a movie is.
I'm sorry.
Help me, please.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.